out's got to be turned on, and then this has got to be turned on, and then the door's got to close, and then we'll be ready to go. I think we got it together. Hold on, we'll do it live. We'll do it live. This is what I'm do it live. Hold on one second. Hi. He's like, you started the show, and then you say, hold on? I mean, honestly, what's going on? Well, I mean, let's to be completely fair. Oh, yeah. This is a good time as any to remember that the Winger logo on their original album was green, and therefore they now have sort of a animated logo because of the background behind me. Anybody remember what this album was called? The first Winger record? Anybody? Huh? I know. You guys can tell me. Anybody? Somebody's got to know. No, they don't. Not necessarily. Yeah. I'm gonna say I have faith in somebody could figure it out. Let me see if I can get the chat app up and running with this new. There we go. With this new keyboard acting weird. There we go. We get that up, and then we get everything, and then with the thing, and then the thing. Does anybody remember? I see. Oh yeah, you did, Pauline. Pauline got to see Molly. She was hidden in the closet. We had to go after her, and the phone hung up and everything. Hi. There we go. Yes. No, it wasn't just Winger. That's the trick. Everybody thinks it was just Winger. But it's actually, I don't know if you can see that down at the bottom, but it's S-A-H-A-R-A, Sahara. There's also a cigarette burn in my shirt from when I first bought it. The first Winger album is called Sahara, but nobody noticed because the name Winger was across the top and it was too subtle, so everybody was like, is this Winger? It's the exact same thing happened in a lot of ways with Edge of Tomorrow, the Tom Cruise movie, which everybody calls Live, Die, Repeat. And they literally, when they sold it later, called it Live, Die, Repeat, Edge of Tomorrow, because the ad campaign just said Live, Die, Repeat. And they were like, people think that's the name of the movie. Everybody's showing up at the theater going Live, Die, Repeat. They want to see Live, Die, Repeat. You're like, it's not the name of the movie. The movie's called Edge of Tomorrow, but nobody cares. Okay, so we'll just call it that. And it is an excellent movie. That's true. He was indeed a ballet dancer. He was also Alice Cooper's bass player. And a gorgeous man by all measure. I mean, honestly, with a good Bee Gees kind of short beard. Could never pull it off, personally. But rock solid. Yes. So, I just finished my first ever bout of the the looped sort of cameo-ish group calls or whatever. They were really cool. I was glad to have done them. It was really fun. Those of you that partook in them, it was really nice to see your faces. It was just a nice experience. It was, I have to say, some level of emotionally overwhelming. Thanks, Mark. I'm trying, man, and I appreciate it, and I hope I am. I hope I'm making your year a little bit better. And I hope it's harder to do next year. This year, it's pretty easy to make life better because it sucks so bad that anything is up. But next year, hopefully, I have, life gives me a run for my money. And it takes a lot more extra effort on my part to make your life happy. That's my goal for you and everybody else. So these were my first time doing the loops. Looped, like the service that we do, the Sexy Liberal shows through Run the World, is kind of like a live venue software. But they also do these meet and greets that are kind of cameo-ish, but you can interact with people. And they came to me with the idea of doing those as gifts or whatever. And I didn't know how they'd work out. It's always new technology. You don't know if they'll be fun or if it'll work or if it'll fail or whatever. And so I was really, I was a little nervous running up to them because I was like, if these don't work, I'm going to feel bad for the people who got them, just on a technical level. Content's my fault, but if it doesn't work, I would feel bad. So they seem to work pretty smoothly. Although Jill Carter, if you are with us, for some reason it wasn't, you didn't come up in the feed or weren't reachable or something. So I will find some way of making that right for you. That's one of the things that I was concerned about. But yeah, I will definitely do another one now that I know what I did. I don't. You guys know me. I'm not good with the hard sell, anyways. I'm not good with a lot of self promotion. I have a powerful 1-to-1 ego, but when it comes to promoting in the traditional sense, I'm not very good at it. It feels pushy and obnoxious, and just the irony that sales is kind of not my game. But it's even harder if I don't know the product. Like, I know I can trust that I'll be witty and charming, but if the delivery system is bad, I'll feel like crap later. So I'm always hedging my bets a little bit on those things, and I don't really go out there. Now that I know this works, I feel better about doing more of them in the future for you guys and for other people. You know what I mean? So that's a good thing. So there you go. I'm good at the soft sell. Thanks very much. What's that? Isn't there a band called Soft Cell? What was their song? I don't remember. That was definitely outside my musical taste range. Oh, thanks, Sonia. Yeah. Hey, Lori in Florida. How are you? Be safe. Fire Biscuits, man, stalk you. You'll be stalking the wrong house, I think, probably. That was Tainted Love. That's right. I hate that song. Sometimes I feel I've got to get away. Wow, that didn't take you guys but a second. Look at that. The entire chat with Tainted Love. Hello, Mongolian fan. 你会说中文吗? Tainted Taint, a much better song. That's Weird Al's Blue record. It's all his dirty jokes. Where's the jar of shine? Oh, I don't have a jar of shine. It's chilly, so I have a cup of coffee in a NASA cup. How do you like that? Yeah. It's just part of my ongoing effort to make everybody who knows that I'm a Freemason, all the conspiracy theory people, make them nervous and paranoid and weirded out by me. Just have as much NASA stuff around as I possibly can, and I need a big, like, eyes wide shut kind of mask to just hang on the wall in the background and constantly throw up the number 3s. Tara, you work for NASA? Well, send everybody our love. For Christmas, I got Summer a couple of things that are very NASA related. I always kind of get her something NASA related. This time I got her Buzz Armstrong spacesuit as a onesie with a hoodie, like just to hang out, like pajamas onesie thing. But it's a replica of his suit, Neil Armstrong's suit. And then I got bathroom mats that are pictures that have a picture of the first step on the moon. Yeah. My ex was a Mason. He kept his books guarded like gold, as he should. Good man. So yeah, that was we're very NASA friendly in this household. Hi, Darlene. Hi, everybody. Why am I on at this hour? Because I wasn't on earlier. That's it. We're just hanging out. Yeah, we can do that. We're allowed. Yes, I have a schedule. Yes, I'm on regularly at a regular time. Yes, we know this. Level 1 hype train coming down the lane on a Sunday night. There's a man going around taking names. So I just, by the way, last night fell asleep. Had a hard time sleeping. My sleep schedule is very wonky. So I often will fall asleep or attempt to fall asleep watching old television that I've seen a lot, so I don't feel like I have to stay up. And I have to say, Quincy and Columbo, not good for that. I'm wearing a NASA shirt right now. Well done, Deanne. Look at that. By the way, spread the love on the show. Let people know we're here. That's always helpful. I keep forgetting to say that at the beginning, everything. Well, thanks, Norman. It's glad to see you anytime. My chat is full of Ontario peeps. That's a beautiful thing because I love and adore Toronto with Summer and I got into a big conversation of just how, oh my gosh, Fire Biscuits. Bless you. Look at that. That jumped us to level 2 already. You guys. But Summer and I got into this big conversation about how, like, she can move on from a house or a place and it's, like, not a big deal. And I am the most melancholy son of a bitch when it comes to, like, homes and places and, and during, living in Toronto, obviously, a lot of emotional stuff happened there. Not just, during the shooting of Queer as Folk, I also had, I know this might shock some people, a life, two very pivotal relationships during my time living there. One much shorter than the other, but quite meaningful. Ava, my girlfriend up there, I mean, I still hold her in great regard, and our relationship was more a victim of the fates than any animus towards each other or any kind of failure of the relationship. And then Stephanie Shirk, who some of you may have seen because I took her to the premiere of Queer as Folk in New York. She'd never been to New York before, and we started dating in Toronto. She passed away earlier this year. Thank you, Verena. And I have to, like, when I heard that news, like, all the emotions of living in Toronto and just the daily up there, I can't even start down that road without getting very emotional just about that place. And I have so much love and respect for that city, and yet at the same time, some pretty, some lasting scars from my time there that I'm very aware of a lot. And Steph came down to LA years after, and I used her in a sketch on a show I was doing, just because she was trying to come down and work as an actress and the like, and it was the only time I'd seen her, and she was in a relationship with somebody at the time and all that stuff. So it wasn't trying to reignite anything. It was just out of, like, love and respect for her and wanting her, to help her out. And that was really the last time I got to hang out with her, was me basically giving her an acting job, because I was in a position that I wasn't when I met her. When I met her, I was, I just finished my year on Talk Soup, but as far as, Canadian television film, nobody knew me up there necessarily. And she certainly didn't when I met her. So having that opportunity to, like, she came down to LA, and here I am, this person who's in a position to give her a leg up, and in any way that I could, that was a great feeling. That was, you have those moments of success in your life where you're like, I did it. That's a definite line. That's where, like, if you're successful, one of the things you get to do when you're successful is you can give your friends a leg up or help somebody that has been struggling for a long time. What happened? No, I'm just pining and reminiscing about Toronto and my exes from up there, one who has passed. And so you can tell we're all listening when the chat goes quiet. Yeah. Thank you, Katie. And thanks, guys, for saying that. When Steph passed, that was one of those moments where you ever just hear the news and of someone going, and you're like, God damn it. And it just stops your world for a time. It was that. It was that. Yeah. Hey, Verena, I'm glad to help you guys through the pandemic, and that's what I'm very happy to be here for you. And Frank, yes, I have been to Germany. As a matter of fact, my girlfriend Summer and I have a lock on the bridge in Cologne. We went there for the a Queers Folk reunion. I brought Summer with me, and there's the bridge where you put a lock, a romantic lock, padlock. If Val cries, I'm going to cry. It's not out of the question. But so yes, I've been to Germany and I enjoyed it quite thoroughly. It was lovely. Thank you, Lady Diana. Yeah, Katie, it absolutely was. And yeah, it's just not going to go away, especially if you're the kind of person where I think I only have like two people that even remotely pass as exes that I'm not on good terms with, and even them, there's a truce. You know what I mean? I'm not on bad terms with anyone I've dated or gone out with or was boyfriend girlfriend with. Thanks, Lion of Judea. Show us the hardware software. I will do that if you would like. Hi, Kelly Bon Vivant. Thank you so much. Let's see. How do I? I don't have a setup on it right now, Lion of Judea. But tell you what I'll do is this week I'll set up a second camera in here so that I can show you this view, because I've only got one camera in here set up like this, and I'll give you the rundown on all that kind of stuff. I'm glad to do it. I have a habit of burning lovey bridges to his life. I don't do that. Mainly because I don't really fall in love with anybody unless they've earned it. I've dated people that that would come and go. But if I was in a relationship with someone, I don't commit into that part of it until I feel like they're worth it. Even if the relationship may not be long-lasting on its root, the worth of the person is what I fall in love with and who they are. So even if we're a bad match, we're still good people seeking love. You know what I mean? And who deserve it. And so I don't tend to, I don't hold grudges against people that I've, broken up with for that very reason. Anyways, let's see how one cup of coffee leads us down that road. Now, one of the, I do give great lunch. It's true. Hope everybody's having a lovely Sunday. This is a more kind of relaxed one. Did someone pass away? Yes, earlier this year. Thanks, Jane. Anybody who's joining late, we could roll back and kind of. That's true. I am Mr. Sparks. They call me Mr. Sparks. Or Colonel Sparks if you want to be, absolutely correct. Because I technically am a Kentucky colonel. I have achieved the rank of colonel in the Kentucky militia. It is an honorary title, but a meaningful one, and written and codified in law. So, Colonel Sparks it is. Colonel Sparks, Colonel Sanders. It's a thing. Yes, I did, Donna. This would be the one you were talking about. Boom. This dude. Wait, hold on. Why is this? This thing has to go. I don't know how my green screen got. There we go. Yeah, that's better. And Tony Rice passed. He's a bluegrass guitar player. If you don't know Tony Rice is playing, it's not surprising. The world of bluegrass is very small. But my dad knew him. We have a lot of mutual friends in our family, and so there was a lot of that. Am I finger licking? Yes, I am finger licking good. It is true. Yeah, I'm not going to argue with that at all. I am a bluegrass colonel. This is true. Future. A Sparks will be an inventor. I view myself, I have two inventions. And before quarantine started, I was going to basically try to crowbar Rob Glenn into helping me make them a reality. Because I think they're solid. I'm not going to bring them up on here because I think they're good and I don't want to lose them. But that's so. I definitely want to add inventor to my litany of titles. Yes, Colonel Sanders, Colonel Sparks, both from Kentucky, absolutely. And many of you may know Colonel Sanders baked me a cake on my 10th birthday when I was a kid. True story. Thanks, D. You play a dobro? I do. I even have one. Let's see. And by the way, like I said, spread the love, let people know. I was struck by how many people, this is fascinating to me, guys. I was struck by how many people have found this little show here and don't know what else I do. And I can't tell you how excited I am about that very idea. Because it'd be one thing if people go, oh, that's that guy, I like that show, so I'll go watch what he's doing over here. That doesn't necessarily mean you'll like what I'm doing here, because oftentimes I play a character, right? So you might like the character, not like the guy. That's completely reasonable. Why would you? The amazing part is that a bunch of people are telling me that they found the show and don't know or have no reason to know me from any other stuff, which is fantastic. A Paul Stanley lookalike? I'm a Paul Stanley lookalike? That's very nice. That's very flattering. Thank you very much. I watched you stand up and laugh your ass off. Well, that just shows taste and breeding on your part. I have no idea how I found you. Well, that's how most people feel about themselves. But I really, I knew you were a comedian, but never seen any of your work in movies. And there's a bunch of that. Can I give you money? You absolutely can. Try using the Venmo up there. Or you can Patreon me, patreon.com/HalSparks. You become an annual patron, which is really great. Or you can do it month to month and whatever. And what else? PayPal.me/HalSparks. And what else? Bits and YouTube and Super Hearts for as long as Periscope exists. It's going away, though. Periscope is going to become Twitter Live sometime in March. How old am I? I'm 51. And I look fantastic. Not just for 51. Jim Morrison lookalike. Not quite. Yeah. Humble pshaw. Oh, thanks. Oh, there we go. Thanks, Linda, for becoming a patron. There you go. And she did it yearly. She did the $5 level for a whole year because they cut you a deal when you do that. Awesome. Well, let's get into the show because I'm not, guys, I hate the sales part and I just like performing. So I'll get better at it though, man. I gotta say, I'm amazed at the bulldog selling that some comics do and certainly a lot of the, streamers do. Holy hell. You know what I mean? Like, I feel bad about the little bit that I do. You know what I mean? I try to mention it because this is it. There's no live shows. There's no production right now. This is the livelihood. When you have a kid, you got to pay your bills. You got to eat. You got to feed your kid. You got to make sure they have Christmas presents and all that stuff. You got to be a responsible adult. You got to pay insurance premiums. Well, if your entire method of making a living has been severed by COVID, you can either cry about it or you can solve it to the best of your ability. And of course, by modifying my performance thing and going into streaming in this way and kind of dovetailing it, that's just my answer to it. Provide a service. If people think it's valuable, they'll throw some money your way if they have it laying around and they don't need it immediately, right? That's the idea. But I'm still, even within the context of that, the logic of it and the normalcy of it, I'm terrible at the hard sell. I just am bad at it. And then I watch some other people. I'm like, all right, how do these folks do it? And good Lord, it's nonstop. Yes, thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, Craig. And thank you, Good as Gold. Yeah, Colette, I'm sure if people who are streaming or, doing this, especially good Lord, the people, the millionaires on Twitch, what is that? What's happening? What is that? Because I've watched it. I've tried to see what is to be gained. Templeton, bless you. Thank you so much. You and Summer still coming to DC for the inauguration? Yes, we are. We will be coming your way. I watch some of the other. I'm like, okay, they're making the big bucks. What are they doing right that I can kind of emulate that won't violate my ethics or drive me off, whatever. And then I watch it, and I'm like, the dude's not even playing a game. He's eating chicken while someone else is using his controller. I don't know what the hell this is supposed to be. Like, there is no reason to it. And then I was like, thank you for the stars. Appreciate it. All right, let's just get on with it. I'll get lost on just the con. You can make millions on Twitch? Yes, you can. It's insane. Who are these people? I mean, it's like Alex Jones on YouTube. Come on. Just go watch Right Side Media. Here's the thing, though. There is something I have to say, because we've watched OAN, Newsmax, Right Side, all the right-wing ones, and if you watch their feed, they have super chats coming up, and for a while, I was like, okay, it's just about volume. It's just about, they have, 1,000 people watching. I have 400 on YouTube normally. So it's, there's going to be that many of it. And then I looked into it. I was like, what's coming in? It's almost all foreign. Half of it, I swear to God, is them laundering money from overseas. Twitch is a streaming service mainly aimed at gamers, so it's good for long-form streaming because most gamers stay on for hours at a time. YouTube caught up with that a little bit with their technology, but the soundest online constant running stream software and stuff, I only have to sell my soul. Thanks, Craig. It's going to be more expensive than that. Yeah, do you even Twitch, bro? Right. That Twitch is built for many hours of streaming in a row, unlike the other services, which are after a half hour, could you stop, please? This is, and so, but insofar as the super chats and the other stuff that I see on these other channels for Right Side especially, and OAN, it's money laundering. There is just no other way. So anyways, here we go. Let's do this. Twitch sounds, never been on Twitch. It sounds MySpacey. No, not at all. It's just very specific to gamers a lot. They're trying to branch out, which is why, by the way, let's bring, here I can bring it in. This is it. Hold on. Wait, you don't get to be in the screen while I do this, Don. I made partner on Twitch. I announced it a couple days ago, but there's 3 levels of being on Twitch as far as being on there. And I got to level 3 on there, and I now have sort of access to all the stuff that you get as partner, and that you can put up merch and other stuff like that, and all the stuff that benefits, makes it more fun as far as emojis and stuff for the fans that watch and the people who are interacting in the chat and stuff. All that stuff. There's a next level of it. That's the final, to reach the final level, your mind, body, and soul must be one. Yes, I have, I got the glow on Twitch. And it only took 3 times applying. And part of it is only possible. Thank you, Benny Loco. Part of it is only possible. The biggest single reason why I made partner on Twitch and why we've grown over there is because it was a safety net after I got kicked off of YouTube. If YouTube hadn't screwed me and kicked me off for 3 months leading up to the election, the Twitch thing wouldn't have grown. It wouldn't have turned into something. It wouldn't have actually, and thank you for knowing Bruce Leroy, by the way. It wouldn't have happened. And this is the message, if I have one for you, that when things look their worst, thank you, Karen, when things are bad and you're like, okay, I think I've got this set up, it's not optimal, but hey, I can make a living a little bit until life goes back to normal. And then you get blindsided with, that was my only revenue stream of merit, was YouTube, being able to stream live on YouTube and make money that way. And it was gone in an afternoon for 3 months. Imagine being just fired without notice for 3 months. No work, no nothing at all. And I had to do something. Luckily, you dig your well before you're thirsty. I had set up my Twitch channel a year before, and it had just been sitting there relatively dormant. And I went, maybe I can stream my show there. And literally its sheer existence was the only thing that allowed us to make it up and make it continue. And so that in and of itself was it was a great lesson in okay, this is bad. This is really bad. You're already in a bad situation, and you get sucker punched or broadsided. What do? You look for the positive option. You look for a solution. And it ended up being a gift because of, that of looking for it there, of going, all right, what solutions do I have open for me? Not losing my mind, not, as frustrating as it is. YouTube, I got a copyright strike on a 4-year-old video from Universal Media Group, an individual at Universal Media Group who's a Trumpster, decided to knock me and a bunch of other liberal talkers off the air before the election. And a copyright strike directly from one of those groups knocks you off for 90 days. So they waited until we were 86 days from the election. So I was kicked off until 4 days after. Ba-boom. It was rough. Let's get kicked off Facebook. It's a good idea. But it was, if I hadn't had that backup, and if I hadn't gone, you know what? It's not optimal. It might be difficult. There might be a learning curve. But let's remember why we're here and get about doing it. Why I'm here is to help you guys get through the craziness of our time with a smile on your face and a sense of optimism, even while you deal with the reality of life being as tough as it is. Because it sucks. There's a lot that sucks right now. And it doesn't mean I dismiss that. But you have a responsibility when things suck to keep your wits about you if you at all can, so that if it gets really bad, you can be the solution. You can be the optimist. You can have the solutions. You can be the caretaker. You can be stronger than the circumstance. That's why we maintain a sense of humor. If you can laugh about this stuff, you have strength over it. If it takes your humor, then it owns you. Especially this goon. Seriously? I'm going to let this goon, this asshole, I mean, for real. No, as Joe Biden would say, not a joke. Really, in my lifetime, me, Hal Sparks, I'm going to let that jackass rob me of a moment's joy? What? Forget it. When you lived in China, did you learn martial arts? I studied for a month while I was there in 2000. The rest of the time that I've spent in China, I just visited. Most of my Chinese martial arts training has been in the United States. So yeah. Oh, well, thank you, Snowy Bullets. That's the goal. You know what I mean? I'm not my life and my sanity and my joy and my value as a friend and a father and a boyfriend and as a house cook and as a gift giver and as an artist or whatever. All those things are way too fucking valuable to give an ounce of any of it to that guy. Look at this dude. Listen to him. You know what I mean? No. Never. I'm not gonna. This guy doesn't get to bum me out. He's had one hit show. I've had 3. What's up? And when I'm his age, I'm not gonna have the neck waddle, neck gina, orange pate looking face and have 27 rape accusations against me. This dude doesn't get to tell me how to live, even when he's president. Get out of town. I have too much respect for the presidency. Thank you, Arlene. No. This is the same thing that applies to trolls. And we love you guys for when you show up. Obviously it's Sunday night, so you got the night off. Norman, I don't know when we're going to do the touring show in China again. I don't see it soon. I do though, think there's a chance we might go to Taiwan. So that's once vaccinated, twice shy. No, we will be. I have a chance that we'll go. Yeah, that way. So, what is it? Let's see. I did stop my favorite movie for me tonight. That's How Much I Like You. What movie is that? Buffalo Kills. When'd you come? Oh, Buffalo Kills. When'd you come? Comedy's the only thing that's gotten you through the pandemic, and that's what it's there for. And it's also why anybody who's a stick in the mud, why all topics are open for comedy. All of them. Because it's how we deal with the awful in life. And the people who are shocked by things that you're not shocked by, or vice versa, don't have to answer to you nor you to them, because you need to laugh about them so you don't take them so seriously that you live in anger about them. That's why jokes matter. If you can joke about it and the other person can laugh about it, then you know that it's not a threat. We were watching football today, and they were worried that they were going to find somebody for celebrating in the end zone. And I'm like, the celebration part is necessary. I understand not taunting, that's bad sportsmanship. But the celebrating after you win and dancing and doing like a TikTok thing or, whatever they do, like posing in the end, that reminds you it's a game, not a war. I know they call it, the gridiron and it's a war and you got to fight and da-da-da, all that shit. I know but that's language. It's not really a war. And you have to constantly be reminded it's a fucking game. Enjoy the game. Drop the hostility. And when somebody is like an asshole, find them. But if somebody's like, we won this, hey man, that's what makes it a game. And it's a good reminder. So anyways, there we go. That's it. All right, there we go. Here we go. Now let's go on with cheeky McDouchebag over here. I can't believe I missed this one. He did that little Christmas video and he's like, that's not enough. I got to follow it up. Now, I'm curious. I have not watched this. I have not seen this. He did this on the 22nd, a couple days ago. The picture on it looks exactly, you were right. It looks exactly like the video right before it. It's just longer. So I was like, I didn't notice, 4 minutes versus 14 minutes. I'm like, they didn't cut it down. Thanks, Greg. So here you go. This is, Today
I want to explain to you why I am so determined to pursue every legal and constitutional option available.
All right. So, legal and constitutional. You're in for a real bore fest? I hope so. This will be glorious. This is him bringing his fight. Why would you bring every legal and constitutional option? Tell us! Because the fabric of America is at stake. Also ornaments.
Stop the theft of the presidential election.
Oh, so you fired Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell, and you're stepping down, and you're hoping Mike Pence will pardon you before he steps down and prays for Pelosi to pardon him. How does it work?
As president, one of my most solemn duties is to protect the integrity of your sacred right to vote.
Oh, yeah? And when did you start thinking about that shit? What? The night you lost? It's been 4 years. This ass, okay. This ass. This is him saying the cupboards were bare in the middle of a pandemic. Remember, like, the cupboards were bare, and you left them that way for 3.5 years. And this jagoff is like, now a warning?
This year, using the virus as a pretext, Democrat officials in the key swing states illegally violated their own state laws.
No, they didn't. Tell us which ones. List them. Let's hear.
In order to enable, encourage, and facilitate fraud on a scale never before seen in the history of our country.
Okay. Never fraud. Never before seen in the history of our country. This is exciting. I couldn't be more excited. I know many of you are excited. Can we have a Rudy free night? Yes. I don't think there's any Rudy stuff tonight. Hold on one second. Let's see. Why is it that on Facebook, I can set these limits on mean language and stuff like that, and whether or not people can, deserve to be here and speak and all that kind of stuff. But I can't, let's see, burnt. I can't stop them from posting links sometimes. Granada.
The truth is,
hi, Justine and Kaylee from Canada. Kylie? Yeah.
we won the election by a landslide.
No, you lost. You lost by 7 million votes, 306 electoral votes, exactly the same electoral votes that you said against Hillary were a
We
landslide.
won it big. Today, I'm going to give you the facts that every American needs to know.
Okay, here they are, kids. Please, I'm going to wait. I've got to find, hold on one second. No, we're not going to just dive into this. Hold on, you cannot. It's not fair, guys. You must, let's see. But I got this as a gift. This will work. And are you getting ready to get a note, some type? I want you to say, there we go. And I want you to get some paper. Some sort of, I'm looking around. I've got a place where it's such a digital room. I barely have anything. Okay. All right. I'm ready to take notes. Let me bring it. These are you guys ready? These are the facts. The facts. We'll write down the facts. Here comes the fact parade. We're ready to get them, and I think we've heard them from Rudy already.
Let's go back to the night of the election.
Okay, let's go back to the night of the election. Everybody called you at 10 o'clock and said it was an easy win, even though you knew full well that in a lot of the states they hadn't even started counting the mail-in ballots, and they would largely favor Joe Biden, and the mail-in ballots that had already been received before Election Day were already, overwhelming, and it was scaring the pants off you, and you were trying to get mail-in ballots thrown out en masse as best you can. And what you ended up doing in the two cases your lawyers brought was having two Trump voters have their votes cast out. But anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Gaia, so night, let's go back. Biddle-a-doop, biddle-a-doop, biddle-a-doop.
By midnight, we had a commanding lead in the swing states.
In the swing states. You mean the close states? Where 65% of the vote hadn't been counted.
We won Florida by a record number of votes.
Yeah, it wasn't a swing state this year. Wasn't a swing state. Wasn't Florida wasn't all right, never mind.
We won Ohio by a record number of votes.
All right. Also not a swing state, but I'm starting to see the pattern you're trying to. Okay, so let me get this down. Florida and Ohio, both stolen by Trump. Okay, Republican election officials. Okay, and ES&S voting machines. Okay, got it. All right, so you won. You stole Florida and Ohio. Okay, tell us about Kentucky.
And likewise, we won Iowa by 8.2%.
Iowa. This ain't a primary, dumbass. Iowa. Iowa. He's gonna start singing. Iowa. Iowa. Oh, don't screen grab that and put dirty things in it. Do not. I do not encourage that kind of behavior. Ew. No, do not.
Far different than the false narrative portrayed.
So the polls were again off in these main states where Republican election officials, Republican governors, and Republican state legislatures were in control of the machines and strictly used ES&S machines. Okay, so Florida, Iowa, and Ohio. Okay, so even though the polls showed that you were going to lose in Iowa, you won by a lot. So obviously something was wrong. Now, either the polling was off again, or a complete review of the voting machines in Iowa is in order. And I thank you for bringing that up. Please continue. Oh, giant circus peanut with fiberglass hair.
In the media. We were up by 293,000 votes in Michigan.
No, you aren't. No one is ever up until the counting is done. Do you understand how that works? Can we stop talking about that shit? I love you, Steve Kornacki, but for God's sake, man, there is no situation where anyone in the look at that. I don't know why that the Facebook votes just kind of chat just vanished. There it is. Nobody's ahead in the vote. You might be ahead in the counting, but until the votes are counted, nobody's ahead. Nobody's ahead. No one is ever ahead in the counting or in the actual voting. You're ahead in the counting. That's it. It's the people counting that matter, not the counting. The votes have been cast or are cast, and they're not done counting them. So who gives a rat's ass where you are in the counting process until you've counted all of them? Can we agree on that? Or we all know this now, right? And every election going forward, when Steve Kornacki goes out, we make sure that everyone is constantly reminded that no one is ahead in anything but the counting of votes, not in the actual votes. No one's ahead in the votes, ahead in the counting of the votes, which is out of their hands and has nothing to do with the actual end result. Okay?
112,000 votes in Wisconsin, 356,000 votes in Georgia.
And 65% of the vote hadn't even been counted. And they had no idea how many of the mail-in ballots they'd sent out would actually come back or people would vote in person. Like, it was an enormous number. In the millions, where it was in the tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands at most. So when you say you're ahead in a situation where most of the people have voted in person, you might have an argument that you're ahead enough and you can call it and all that kind of stuff. But when 50% of the electorate's voting by mail, you have no idea. You can't go, we're already done. We're there. We're already there. We're there. You can't actually say that. Thank you, Lady Diana.
And nearly 700,000 votes in Pennsylvania, all swing states.
Why are they swing states? Why are they swing states? What makes them swing? Why isn't California a swing state? Why isn't New York a swing state? Why is Mississippi not a swing state? Why? I'll tell you why. Because it ain't close. That's right. The only thing that makes these states swing states is the fact that they're close. And if they ain't close yet, it's because you haven't counted all the votes. Otherwise, they wouldn't be swing states. Not a swing state. State ain't swinging if there ain't any left over, right? Shit, that's what he's about to say.
These numbers were absolutely impossible for Joe Biden to overcome.
No, they aren't. They'd be impossible to overcome if everybody in a normal election had voted like they normally vote. If at that point in the night, most people on both sides of the aisle had largely voted in person, you'd have a point. But because we're in a pandemic, and you personally made masks and social distancing and the pandemic a political issue, that meant that your folks were going to all show up largely on Election Day, and everybody else was going to vote by mail or vote early.
And the Democrats knew it, and everybody forecasting knew it and understood it well. Our nation...
Really? Is that why Fox News called Arizona before anybody else? Fox News. Schlong.
Nation's greatest political professionals were calling to congratulate me on our victory.
Well, I mean, perhaps at one point they might have been at one point the greatest. They're not anymore, are they?
Greatest political forecasting knew it and understood it well.
Edit.
Our nation's greatest political professionals were calling to congratulate me on our victory.
No. Our nation's former greatest political professionals, because apparently they all collectively shit the bed on election night because they couldn't figure out that 50% of the electorate was voting by mail.
Victory. Then suddenly everything started to disappear.
No, none of your votes disappeared. I mean, the language again is important here. Did any Trump votes disappear? Huh? Nope. Anybody? No. Biden gained votes in the mail-in and absentee votes because that's how Democrats voted this time. And that's also how a lot of smart Republicans who didn't want to die voting against this canned ham in a suit.
Everything started to change.
Oh, it's so sad. Oh, no. Oh, no, how it all started to change.
The vote counting abruptly stopped.
At 10 o'clock at night. And then they started again in the morning. And 6 hours later, completely in line with the capacity of the machines, my lead evaporated down to 113,000. And they still had millions of votes to count.
In multiple states.
Yep, the swing states, which are close. And if they weren't close on election night, guess why?
In the middle of the night, a series of massive and statistically inconceivable vote dumps.
He just got us. Why would you say dump that much when everyone knows you wear a diaper?
Overturned the results in state after state.
Yeah, it must have been brutal. Flop sweat after flop sweat.
At 6:31 a.m., very early.
6:31 6:31 a.m. Very early.
Early in the morning.
Very early in the morning. I remember I was awake when that massive dump happened.
Michigan suddenly reported 147,224 votes.
So, maybe, just maybe, let me see. How can I do this in a way that would Rudy Giuliani this for you? Let me make a little graph at one point. So let's just say 150,000 votes are counted on Tuesday night. But they are not tabulated until the next morning. What a terrible chart that destroys your chances. Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. Tuesday night, it was fine. They counted them, but they were all just sitting in their boxes. And then look at this line, this terrible line of lies, this lying line 9. I do need a Katie board or whiteboard. A Katie board, listen to me. We should call them a Katie board from now on. They like Sparks notes. And then they tabulated them, but the tabulation says tabulation. See, right here. And I underlined it twice, so you know it's true. The tabulations were not uploaded to the internet. That's the international symbol for the internet right there. Right there. See it? Uploaded to the interwebs until the next morning. Huh? I mean, what more do you need to see? I went to the Rudy Giuliani graph school. I mean graph. All right. Anyways, you were saying.
94% for Biden, 6% for Trump.
There were more that came in from that district. It didn't end up being 96-4, that ratio. It ended up being more closer to 91-9. Completely in line with the registrations in that area. Lots of black people. Yeah. Kanye vote not as big as he thought it would be.
At 4:42 a.m., Wisconsin reported 143,279 votes, almost all of them for Biden.
Almost all of them. Why don't you say the number on that one? Wait a minute. Why don't you say the number? You just gave us 147,300 for the one that the dump that happened at 6:30. Why aren't you giving us the exact number for the dump that happened at 4:30? Why wouldn't you do that? Could it be because the percentages are again completely in line with reality? But please, go on. You're so convincing right now. Also, no one notices the right part of your hair up there where you were clearly napping until moments before this happened, and you panicked and said, "Give me that thing," and you ran out and made them tape this. With that little thing that's on the top of your head on the other side, that part.
A similar massive drop of ballots happened in Georgia at one.
Which they fixed. Look at that. They fixed it in this. Look, no, don't. Look at that. The little fluff right there. And then they fix it on the angle. This is take 2. And they cut in between them.
For Biden. These gigantic and ridiculously one-sided spikes were miraculously just enough to push Joe Biden into the lead in all of the key swing states.
That wasn't miraculous at all. any more than your lead over Hillary Clinton in 3 states was miraculous when it was smaller.
These glaring anomalies are just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh boy, here comes the tip of the iceberg. The iceberg's tipsy.
States. These glaring anomalies are just the tip of the iceberg. We won 18.
Nice edit. Did you see that? That was a tight edit. His mouth wasn't even finished moving from the last line.
These glaring anomalies are just the tip of the iceberg. We won 18 of 19 bellwether counties, a record.
We won 18 of 19 bellwether counties. Let me guess. The bellwether counties, which you strategized you would need to have a bunch of people throwing out mail-in ballots nonstop. You had ES&S machines in those states. I'm going to go with. What do you think the chances are that the bellwether, please go on,
that have correctly predicted the winner of every presidential election for the last 40 years?
Well, yeah, except for the fact that we live in a modern era where if strategically you know that, then you marketing and target just to win those bellwethers, and you put all your eggs in those baskets when you have no way of winning everywhere else, and you get swamped in all the other counties. That's how you lose. That's how you blow the averages. Just like Iowa is, everybody used to be all in on Iowa because if it meant you won Iowa 50 years ago in a primary, that meant you were going to be the candidate. You got the lead off. You showed momentum right out of the gate. You were winning the first caucuses. This was the shit. And then everybody figured out the game. And now everybody moves into Iowa 2 years before every presidential election. It's a farce. It's all managed. And the people who win Iowa now never win.
We also won Ohio, Florida, and Iowa.
Yeah, you said that already. It's not a good look when you're 3 minutes in and you're already repeating your evidence as if it's new.
By historic margins, meaning Biden would be the first candidate since 1960. And
since, 1960? 1960? Were there even phones? 1960, that was before we had machine guns in every household. People used to dry their cats in microwaves. 1960? What's up, Gramps?
And only the second candidate in American history to win the White House while losing all 3 of those major states.
All 3. Of course, it's the first time a Democrat has won the White House as the Republicans have given up enough states to make up for those losses because they went all in. All right.
And it wasn't even close.
I won Florida and Ohio by so much. I won by more voters than there were votes in that. More votes than there were votes. It was impossible to get as many votes. I won the biggest margin in the history of those 3 states. I won more Ohio votes from Floridians than, all right.
With Joe Biden at the top of the ticket.
The top of the ticket. Well, he definitely is right now. How does it feel to be number 2?
Democrats lost 25 out of 26 toss-up House seats. That's a record.
Yeah. Yeah, because it was a referendum on you, not on conservatism in general. That's actually because a bunch of Republicans, I don't want to make you paranoid any more than you already are, but a good portion of Republicans think you're an asshole. So they voted against you, not even left it blank like happened to Hillary. We had a bunch of Bernie bros and angry wannabe Democratic socialists leave it blank or even occasionally vote for Trump, but not nearly in the numbers that we saw the Republicans this time voting for their Republican senator, voting for their Republican House member, even if they didn't like them, just on the R beside their name, as an excuse to vote against you.
Democrats were projected to gain 15 seats, and instead, because of my success and
because of your success losing
coattails, as they call them,
who calls them coattails? Do you have coattails when the rest of those people are dragging your ass behind them?
Lost 14 seats. So think of that. They were
okay. All right. I'm thinking. Yeah, it absolutely fits the model I pointed out.
Going to win big, and they ended up losing big.
Speaking of losing big, have you gained weight?
Campaign received more votes than any president in history.
And what happened? What happened to Joe Biden? Who won the most? Who's the challenger who won the most votes in America?
Almost 75 million people voted for me.
Almost, but not quite.
We earned approximately 12 million more votes than we got in 2016.
It's amazing how mail-in voting actually increases the general public and their willingness to vote. See those 12 million voters? Republicans could have had those people voting all along. That's right. But they couldn't because they lived in impoverished areas, and to keep poor people and minorities from voting, Republicans limited the numbers of voting machines in those districts. Even though it disenfranchised a lot of white people, they just figured, screw them. It's worth it to get rid of all the black voters and the Hispanic voters. Yeah.
The largest vote increase for an incumbent president ever recorded. I also received the largest share of non-white voters of any Republican in over 60 years.
This is the world's tallest midget brag.
In fact, we did better with African American and Hispanic voters everywhere in the country, except for a small handful of corrupt Democrat-run cities in key swing states, places
where there's a lot of black people,
notorious for fraud,
where there's a lot of Hispanic people,
such as Milwaukee, Detroit, Atlanta, and Philadelphia, all run by Democrat machine politicians. No president.
So places that vote for Democrats a lot, always vote for Democrats, continually put Democrats in power, always, and then they didn't vote for you because you're Republican. What?
President has ever lost re-election while making such extraordinary gains across the board.
That's true, but no president has ever won while his candidate, the candidate he was running against, beat him in the Electoral College and won 7 million more votes. I would venture to say, and somebody in the chat room, please check me on this. When in history has any president won back the White House when their opponent got 7 million more votes than they did? Was that ever a thing? Has that happened? Has there ever? I just want to, because I know history pretty well, but I don't know everything necessarily all the time. I'm just saying. It was probably the Kanye one. It was probably the Kanye West bump.
Never been anything like it.
That's right. No sitting incumbent president has ever had the ass whooping you got.
Despite all of this evidence of a thundering Trump victory.
By the way, this is not evidence. Not in any way. Nothing so far. And I get it. Like, sometimes Rudy thinks he's presenting evidence with his affidavits. And we can argue about whether or not affidavits are evidence and the fact that he only presents them in places where they don't have to be under oath, and he doesn't file them in court cases where the fact that they were under oath would be questioned and they'd have to be cross-examined and it would be found out that they were lying under oath. Or that the number, I can't even think of an actual piece of evidence Rudy has floated that that actually amounts to evidence of fraud or evidence of chicanery. Just the kind of general, like, look what they're doing in that video. They got to be committing a crime. They're black. Look at them. What have we heard from Trump so far? And I know I'm taking this far too seriously and giving him the benefit of the doubt to actually have a conversation. But seriously. Thank you, Karen. Where has he presented evidence? All of this is statistically, I should be kicking ass right now. I threw for more yards than any quarterback in U.S. history. Who gives a shit that the other team outran us and we lost 49-16? That's the argument here. I can't have lost. I threw more passes than any quarterback in history. This is the argument. There's no evidence at all in any of this. I'm not even splitting hairs about this. There is no evidence. This is all, I should have won. Everybody else won who did this. I mean, I missed everywhere else. You know, like, giant map of the United States. I won this area. Everybody who ever wins this area. Now, I lost all this, but that doesn't matter. What matters is I won the part the other guy won, and when that guy won it, he won the one. He didn't lose the other part. I lost the other part. But that's not the point. Seriously. But yeah, good point. Space Force, though.
Victory. And all of those projections all through the night.
All through the night. Not a creep was stirring.
They want us to believe that Joe Biden, who seldom left his basement to campaign.
Yeah, it was amazing how he kicked your ass with very little effort. Won the primary with less money than everybody else. It's almost as if having a history of public service and a decent rep can get you places in life. I mean, it's too late for you to go back and try to fix shit, but I mean, think about it. He lost 23 bellwethers and he only won 16 of them, but he won 16 of them.
Somehow received 11.7 million more votes than Barack Obama.
Yeah, he did. Because he's got lots of experience, so voters come out for that. He's not the first black president, so a bunch of Republicans who were like, oh, no, were like, I'm fine voting for Joe Biden. Good old Irish fella. I mean, there's a, whoops, what happened there? Did you shrink this? Oh, I see. All right. I don't want, why does the screen keep going to sleep? Don't go to sleep on me, screen. There are a lot of reasons why he won. I mean, to be completely frank, just on having been vice president before brings out the older voters who are like, well, here's somebody who knows what he's doing. I mean, yeah, good point. I should just draw a chart. I don't even know why I'm trying. Yeah, the only thing Joe Jorgensen has going for him is obviously the fact that most Republicans don't know that it's a she. It's a good point. I'm definitely not Frank, and I'm certainly not Frank Underwood in this situation. Thank you, Fire Biscuits. So
rates prove that hundreds of thousands of illegitimate ballots were counted in the key states.
Okay. Not only does at any point anything he says passes evidence, it's statistical outrage is what he has. It is absolutely like, I threw more passes, so I should have won because we threw more passes than the other team. Did you score more touchdowns? No. But nobody who has thrown as many passes as I have ever lost the Super Bowl. What doesn't make any difference? Did you get touchdowns or not? No, that's not the point. Like, that's his argument. This is somebody arguing in a sports bar about his fantasy football team. That statistically, that's this whole bullshit, right? It's all of it. Following up, and then following it up with the idea that because I have statistical outrage, that's proof. He uses the word, Rudy does this all the time. He uses the word proof, which is just not like...
This was sufficient.
Hold on. Back up. Let's see. I need to switch to the things. There we go. Do you hear? Let's see. Back up. Watch him use the word proof.
The absentee ballot rejection rates prove that hundreds of thousands of...
The absentee ballot rejection rates prove. Now, we know that because Democrats, by and large, were voting by mail, and Republicans weren't at all, that Republicans, especially poll workers and judges, were throwing out as many ballots as they could, or challenging them as much as they could. Now, we also know that the number of people who have their signatures rejected because they're stuck at home, they have cerebral palsy, they're homebound, so they vote by mail all the time, and there's a certain percentage of them that always get challenged, and it's always a tough row for them to hoe, and people don't help them, in spite of the ADA being a good and wholesome thing. The Republicans were working very hard to kick everybody out as best they could. But the number of rejections stayed constant as far as volume because all the additional people voting by mail normally vote in person, are ambulatory, have jobs, they're just home avoiding COVID. So they crossed every T and they dotted every I, and they were very protective. And a lot of them went in and voted in person. So this absentee voting, notice he didn't say mail-in. Notice he did not say mail-in.
The absentee ballot rejection.
Notice that? Okay. That's because in 2 states, Wisconsin calls it absentee balloting when you vote in person early. Other states recognize you as an absentee voter even if you vote early. They just don't qualify it legally. You don't have to ask for an absentee ballot in Michigan and Georgia or whatever. Like, it's just a trick of words. So you go in, you fill out your absentee ballot, and you dropped it off. It got accepted because you were right there. You showed an ID when you dropped it off. You didn't drop it in a mail slot. So the number of people that were being kicked out, that let's say a state normally has 20,000 to 200,000, depending on the size of these states, mail-in votes, 2% of them would get rejected. Well, the same 2% will get rejected if you add on top of them a bunch of people who can sign their name consistently, people who are worried their vote isn't going to count, so they're putting in extra effort. They are thinking this through and going, I'm not going in. Like, it's so obvious.
Election rates prove that hundreds of thousands of illegitimate ballots were counted in the key states.
Nope.
This was sufficient.
It doesn't, and again, look at the word prove. Try harder.
To change the election results all on its own. In 2016, 6.4% of...
2016. In 2016, 6.4%. 2016, almost everyone voted in person. The number of people voting by mail was minuscule, consistent, and that 6% number of rejection, which is what he's going to bring up, the people who get rejected because their signatures don't match, because they have, increasing physical maladies or issues where their signature changes over time because they're getting older and older and they have to vote from home or what have you, or they've got a foreign sounding name, so the Republican will, judge will reject it just because it looks sketchy. How many Juan Gonzalez's do we have in this goddamn network? That kind of thing. The same thing, that same number, that 6%, same number of people, let's say it's 50,000, when you go up to 2.1 million, drops down, even though the same actual number. And again, watch him say the percentages, but not the actual number. Because again, what do we say on the show all the time, kids? Whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, you can't argue with this fact. If someone tells you a percentage, but they don't tell you the actual number at the same time, they're selling something. if they tell you the actual number, but they won't tell you the percentage and it changed. There were 10,000 murders last year. Okay, how many people are in the city? How many is that per capita? Is it up or down? Is it percentage rate up or down? Is that percentage rate up or down in or outside the normal variability or the rise in population? All those things you need to know if you're being sold a narrative or not. That's exactly what he's doing. He's trying to compare mail-in voting this time with a bunch of ambulatory, employed human beings who are home waiting for their job to come back, deciding to vote from home and being very careful about it because they don't trust this fucker. He's comparing that number of people to the small number of people who voted by mail in 2016 because they can't leave the house.
Mail-in ballots were rejected in Georgia.
6% in Georgia.
This year, fewer than a tiny percentage of 1% were rejected.
Right. So basically the same number of rejections. But just say it. Tell us what the number is. And then tell us, again, you give me 6%. You said 6%. Right? Right? Here's our 6. So we got 6%. There's 6% right there. Now it's 0.00025%. That's what we'll go with. I don't know what it is, but let's just say it's tiny comparatively. Well, in this case, when it was 6%, 48,000 people voted by mail. And 6% of that 48,000 voted by mail. Then, this time around, 2.3 million people voted. All of them worried they would die, all of them wanting to make sure their vote got counted, who were taking an extra effort to mail in their vote, didn't screw up their signature, and 0.0025% equals about the same number as that 6% of the original number. Friggin', yeah. I'm doing a Rudy chart.
Rejected. So
prove me wrong.
You went all the way down, a difference of more than 30 times. The same.
So what? 30 times what? What's your baseline? How many people voted by mail in 26? All right, damn it. Do I have to every friggin' for God darn. Who is it? Mr. Singlenden? Votes by mail, Georgia, 2016. Mm-hmm. Okay. Here you go. Check out this. This is adorable. Holy crap. Okay. Absentee voters, Georgia. Wow. I mean, let's see. That won't be, let's see. Numbers. Hold on. I have to find the exact numbers. There we go. Okay. First of all, check this out. So we know that somewhere in the order of, let's see, 1.3 million absentee ballots cast in November 2020 in Georgia. 1.322529. 2,000 of them were rejected for missing or non-matching signatures out of 1.9 million. In November 2018, 454 absentee ballots were rejected for missing or non-matching signatures out of 284,000. The 0.15% rejection rate for signature issues was the same in both the 2018 and 2020 general elections. Look at this. Son of a bitch. Like, this is a Republican governor. Hold on, my little light is off here, so my background is dark. This is a Republican governor's website. There you go. The 0.15% rejection rate for signature issues was the same in both the 2018 and 2020 general elections. What are you talking about? How does he realize? Does he not know we can look this shit up? In the 2020 primary, more ballots were rejected for missing or non-matching signatures out of 1.1 million absentee ballots. 1.1 million were cast in the primary. Do you want kind of like, and those are Democrats voting in a Democratic primary. There was no Republican primary. With a rejection rate of 0.28%. The lower rejection rate in the general election compared to the primary is likely the result of both parties attempting to help voters cure their absentee ballots pursuant to the process set forth in the Georgia statute. And that's because there were Republicans down there trying to make sure that people who voted for Bernie or some rando in the primary for the Democrats would water down the effect of whoever else was going to be the leader. Numbers for total number of rejected absentee ballots for the 2020 election, including ballots received after the 7 p.m. election day deadline, which they're allowed, they just have to be postmarked, are still being input. That was just the beginning of it. They weren't even done at that point. Okay. Look at this. So let's go back to 2016. More than 8,000 people in Georgia have already voted. The early voting total, however, is still a small fraction of the 100,000 mail ballots requested so far. $100,000. You are going to seriously compare an election where 100,000 people wanted to vote by mail in Georgia, and in 2020 they had already counted on the day after. When was this? What's the actual date on this? Let's see. They don't have a date on this particular issue on this page anywhere, but the idea was it was like the night of, because it's still, the day of or whatever when this was originally put in. They're still counting those. More than 8,000 people, there you go. So, Secretary of State Brian Kemp, remember this guy? Has encouraged anyone who wants to vote by mail to request their ballot now to avoid delays or problem. Absentee ballots can be requested through a registered voter's local county registrar or through the Georgia Secretary of State's office. Anyone who's not registered to vote has through October 11th to do so if you want to cast a ballot in person. 100,000. 8,000 had already voted. Good Lord. Early voting was off the chain in 2016. 2016. Meanwhile, come on. I wish you'd do true crime videos. I would love to. Oh, Linda, we got you covered. I'm glad you're there. I'm happy to be here for you. This jagoff, tell us all about it.
Same phenomenon occurred in Pennsylvania and other states.
Oh yeah? Did it? What else? What other phenomenon also occurred? Huh? Tell me about it. What do you think? What other phenomenon also occurred? Oh, right. A shit ton of mail-in votes compared to 2016. That's what happened. From ambulatory people who can sign their name. Unlike the large swath, and by large I mean 0.15% total, 0.26% total in the primaries, who have their signatures challenged. Doesn't mean they're wrong. Doesn't mean they're lying. Doesn't mean they're fake. They just either are missing or don't match. And in such an egregious way that they have to be thrown out. What Trump is accidentally saying right here is that the amount of fraud in this election is statistically smaller than it was in 2016. Because the signatures match more frequently. The software has gotten better. The ones that don't match, they cure them. They call people. Did you vote? Yes, I did. What day did you mail it? Last Wednesday. That's the postage mark we've got on ours. That matches up. What? I mean, seriously.
We're accepting all of these ballots, many of which were absolutely illegal.
Based on what? Absolutely illegal. Just what? Why? Why were they absolutely illegal? Huh? Based on what? Their signatures didn't match? Which ones? The ones for you? Listen to his insistence that these were absolutely illegal. Statistically, there were fewer that were thrown out this time. Of course, we've got, a lot of people re-upped their registration because we kicked them off. Brian Kemp had kicked a shit ton of people off the registrars, the county registrar's rolls in the last couple of years. So people had to re-register. So their signatures were much closer now because they just filled the shit out, which also tends to look. This is the backside of when you try to broom a lot of minorities and people who you don't want voting off the voter rolls. They go and register again. There's activists out there making sure, hey, guess what? There's a website like vote.org where you can go check your registration. That didn't exist 10 years ago, and it was less used in 2016. Now it's very commonplace. Now you can track your ballot online. And if it doesn't get counted on election day, you can go, what the hell happened? I voted. Why is it not registered? You can walk down there in the 3 days after the election, especially when there's still votes being counted by mail in this circumstance, and go, it did not show. Look at this app. This is your Secretary of State's app. Why does it show that my ballot was received, but my vote was not counted? Would you like to vote, here? Yes, we'll give you a provisional ballot. If it makes a difference in the numbers, we'll absolutely count it. Knock yourself out. Boom. There you go. Now, Rudy Giuliani wants all provisional votes thrown out because Trump loses those as well. But that's why, because the Brian Kemps of the world kick brown people off the voter rolls. And now there's a bunch of Democrats like myself and others that are lily friggin' white who actually want black people and brown people to vote, actually give a shit. And we wander around neighborhoods with our brown and black friends getting people signed back up. So it's harder to kick them off permanently. This ain't the old South, asshole. And because they just filled this out in June or October, goddamn if their signature isn't a dead match.
In a year in which the number of mail-in ballots was the highest ever.
Oh, there you go. Screw your whole statistic. Go for it.
The rejection rate was magically the lowest ever.
Yes. Because the rejection rate was relatively static to the number of people who have difficulty signing their names. Whereas the great expansion of new voters voting by mail had recently filled out their vote by mail paperwork and had recently signed it, and their recent signature matched the recent signature that they put on their actual ballot. You shithead. But please keep pretending you don't know this.
And it wasn't even close. The only possible explanation is that tens of thousands of ballots were unlawfully processed and counted.
Well, yeah, I don't doubt that there's a lot of ES&S chicanery that a lot of Democrats' votes, especially in Kentucky, were thrown out. Absolutely. That digitally they were removed somehow because their machines don't have a paper trail. It's really spooky, and I don't know why. I don't know why that, like, the ones in Kentucky that Mitch McConnell favors have like a shredder attached. What's up with that? Explain yourself.
Most Americans would be shocked to learn
that you have a full diaper. No, none of us would be shocked.
That in no swing state is there any meaningful attempt to verify citizenship.
Meaningful attempt to verify citizenship? When you get your driver's license, you need a birth certificate. When you register to vote, you need a state ID. That state ID has been vetted based on your birth certificate or your previous ID or the ID you've had for a long time. If at any point you are found to be using a fraudulent ID, you are required secondary ID. A good portion of people, especially this time around, used ID that they could, like a passport, to absolutely guarantee that they would not be rejected. And
residency, identity, or eligibility for
residency, identity, or eligibility. The vast majority of absentee ballots that were picked up this year around, beg your pardon, this is the first time wearing these, only the second time wearing these earbuds, and they're a little itchy. Yeah, you have to have a social security number. Your primary address has to be in that state. Now, granted, we've all heard the stories about Ann Coulter voting in a place she didn't live. We know that several of the Fox News personalities, for example, live in Connecticut, Vermont, New Hampshire. That's where their homes are, even though they have apartments in Manhattan. And a couple of them have tried to vote twice. They vote for mayor and stuff in New York while voting for president and stuff out at their homes in, their big mansions. And we do know that this asshole assumes that because he's president of the United States and nobody checked the fact that he doesn't actually live at Mar-a-Lago and he doesn't live in New York anymore and his only real home is in Washington, D.C. for another 20 some odd days, that he just figures since he could walk into someplace in West Palm Beach and vote, everybody can just wander around.
For mail-in ballots, the potential for illegal activity is
minor.
Unlimited. And
unlimited. You yourself, that's right, you're listening to the sound of my voice. Unlimited. You can vote in multiple jurisdictions, overlapping, multiple. I mean, you're basically the Jason Bourne of voters, if you want to be. Now, granted, if you get caught in any of these states voting with any of these multiple overlapping IDs where you don't, in a state where you don't live and stuff, you go to jail for 20 years for every count. So if let's say you got 3 houses and one's your main registry, like you live in DC, but you have your main apartment where your wife gets in the prenup is in New York. So your kid technically lives there and goes to school even though you're both in one. And you also have a place in West Palm Beach that doesn't qualify as a resident, but you insist is a resident, but at no point do you, but you might live, you could buy an apartment, but you're not really a billionaire. You sold the house that you bought for $25 million for $90 billion after it lost value. In all this, you should be voting here, but you end up voting here, and who's to say you didn't vote here and here? I mean, honestly. I mean, how can you not? I mean, it's unlimited.
And that's what we just experienced.
Oh, really? So did we experience that in 2016?
Third, hundreds and hundreds of witnesses have come.
I have not read the complete Antrim County independent forensic audit of the 16 voting machines. I have read the testimony of the guy who did it, though.
Come forward to testify.
And he's stunningly full of shit.
Under penalty of perjury about the cheating and fraud.
The penalty of perjury. Really? Really? Because no one in any of these Senate hearings wanted to be under oath, and none of them have actually presented their under oath affidavits in a court of law. Why is that?
Have come forward to testify under penalty of perjury.
By who? No. They haven't. No one was under oath in the state gatherings, and none of them have been brought into court to have their affidavits, which they signed under penalty of perjury, challenged in court where perjury could be established. It's real fucking easy to sign an affidavit and say, I sign this under the oath of it being, under the penalty of perjury, I will sign this. Will you ever set foot in a courtroom where you can be cross-examined and someone can check to see if you have committed perjury? Absolutely not. Well, then get the fuck out of here. Seriously. I mean, what does it matter if you have an affidavit if you never present it as evidence in court? If the plaintiff in the case or the defendant in the case, whichever side you're on, can have their attorney cross-examine you on the facts and see if it matches up with your affidavit. Do you even affidavit, bro? Seriously. What is it? What? Tell me. Anybody? If you can't challenge... Oh, Jennifer, hiccups are rough. Remember, it's just your diaphragm gulping for air, so it's all about calming down. Don't get excited. Oh. So, all right. Honestly, is there anything to this? If you do a deposition or an affidavit and you swear on a Bible when you tell it, but it's never presented in a situation where it's cross-examined under oath in front of a judge, where they can look at their version of facts, the plaintiff or the defendant can look at their version of facts and go, hey, you said this in your affidavit. Turns out it was bullshit. You aren't actually a Dominion employee, are you? No. Well, then why do you say in your affidavit that you're a Dominion employee? Because were you ever a contractor? You say you're a contractor for Dominion. Were you? Never. You work for a temp agency for IT work. What was the extent of the IT work that Dominion hired you to do? They didn't hire me to do IT work. Well, in your affidavit, it says that you say they did. Yeah, but they didn't. That's it. Seriously. Yeah, are you even Goober National? It's not an affidavit until it can be cross-examined. I'm laying that down right now. In my estimation, and in all realm of, that's like saying, I'm the greatest boxer that has ever not stepped in the ring. I mean, you can't challenge me. I swear to God, I am the best boxer ever, but I will never step in the ring with another boxer. What? That's all of them. That's all of them. That's every single affidavit they have. Every single one. Am I the only person that has pointed that out? I think I am. Cheers, Peter. Right? Goober National said some sort of Nazi group. No, that was from another show. This was something this dude said. Has anybody heard anybody but me bring that point up? I don't think I've heard anybody bring that up. And if they have, God bless them. I'm very happy. Yes, an affidavit is a sworn statement and can be used against a person lying. Same with depositions. But only when presented in court. Or when they enter into a contract with someone. Which neither of them did. Like, none of them have. None of them have entered a court where their affidavit has been entered in as evidence and challenged by the other party. And none of them have entered into a contract using their affidavit as evidence of their reason for being a suitor in that contract. Right? Not a one. Not a one. I stand by that. I'm saying Rudy Giuliani, Donald John Trump, I, Hal Sparks, am calling you out in a way that I have yet not done because I was holding something back, to sell more cigars and home title lock ads, obviously. That none of your affidavits mean shit unless you present them in a court of law where the person giving the affidavit can be cross-examined by another party that is aware of the facts presented in said affidavit. Because otherwise, it ain't an affidavit. I don't care if you got a notary republic to sign it. That half of the ones on Michelle Caroni's, it says he in a description of the person filling out the affidavit. Michelle Caroni's affidavit uses he, him, and his as her pronouns. I guarantee she's not using transgender pronouns. But she signed it, and whoever the friggin' notary was, agreed to it, stamped it, right? So, is it an affidavit? No. I'm saying no. It's outhouse wallpaper. It doesn't mean shit. An affidavit is not an affidavit until the moment you present it as evidence in a courtroom and someone else gets to cross-examine you. Period, end of story. Boring, done, dumb. Stop claiming you have thousands or hundreds of affidavits. You have no such thing. Pony up, Mr. I'm the greatest boxer. I just don't feel like boxing.
About the cheating and fraud they saw with their own eyes.
Oh, thanks, Paul. If I ever need a notary, I'll reach out.
Witnesses have sworn that they...
Yeah, no, they haven't. They've written on paper for other maggots, and then they've refused to have their affidavits presented in court, in legal proceedings. And even the stuff where they're like, yeah, go ahead and use it. It's not, did you see actual crimes? No, what they saw was, I can't believe what I was hearing. Everyone I heard, it seems like everyone I heard was for Biden. That's not evidence. It's an affidavit of what you believe you thought you heard. And there's no way to cross-examine that other than, all right, we need to know, are you a dumbass or not? Michelle Caroni, in front of God in this courtroom in the great state of Michigan, at any time previous to the month before the election, were you on probation? Yes. For what? Computer fraud. Was that what you were initially charged with? No. What did you plead? Did you plead down from a greater charge? Yes. What was the greater charge? First degree obscenity. What's first degree obscenity? I mailed videos of me having sex with my boyfriend to his ex and her underage son. That's true. All that's true about Michelle Caroni. That's true. That was their key witness. Oh, you, sir, are you, yes, who are you? I'm one of the key witnesses. Mr. Giuliani has brought me in today to talk about what I saw. All right, what'd you see? Lots of shenanigans. I saw lots of fraud and shenanigans and shenanigan-y fraud. Sir, have you ever been convicted of a crime of moral turpitude? Yes. What was that crime? I showed my dick to a 7-year-old and a 10-year-old. Okay, no more questions. These are the witnesses. These are who they're bringing forward. None of them have done that under oath, because that's what's going to happen.
They saw poll workers illegally backdating thousands of ballots.
No, they didn't. They saw them, the batches that were made and stacked yesterday. Those are the batches from yesterday. Today's the day they get mailed out. You don't put the day you mail them out on the form, because that's not the batch. You're doing batch A, so you need to know when these were printed. They were printed yesterday. So you put the date from yesterday on your form when you're putting these in the envelopes. The date when they're mailed, we know. You know why? Because they get mailed, and the post office will put the date on them. Jesus Christ. This part was about September. Remember that?
Counting batches of the same ballots many times.
Nope. Zero evidence of that. And if they did, there would be hundreds of thousands of ballots, more than were registered in the areas. And the turnout in the biggest county in Wisconsin was 72%.
and unloading boxes and boxes of ballots, all bearing the same signature and all for Joe Biden.
No. I mean, let's understand he's mixing three stories. The vans that supposedly had food that were supposedly full of ballots, which if you'll recall, the story was vans showed up with food. She didn't see any food, but she was on the ship before. The food was for the people coming in. She's supposed to, you come and go in this place on shift. That food's for them. You had food. We fed you. Fuck off. You don't get to eat their food. We only got enough food for the people that we have coming in for that shift. That's their breakfast. You already, get out. Meanwhile, the ballots came in where the ballots are, where they're stored as they get through them. And they weren't all for Biden. One of his people said, almost everyone I heard was for Biden. So psychologically, you're eliminating all the Trump votes, or somebody isn't yelling out the name Trump when they hear him. Like this, it looks like Biden's winning. Things like that are going to freak you out. And it's from a district that's heavily going for Biden. And it's not just a district that's going heavily for Biden, but all the mail-in votes versus the in-person votes are going to be 90-10, if not more, for Biden, because they're the mail-in votes. When you get to the in-person vote, 60-40. This is just...
Other witnesses have testified to seeing thousands...
None of them have testified. They have spoken in front of state houses. They have never testified. To testify, you have to be under oath. You're just talking.
...of so-called pristine ballots with no creases or folds, all voting for Biden. When you have no fold, it means it wasn't mailed. It means it was a fraud.
No, it doesn't. It means it was an in-person absentee ballot that was stored in a long envelope, not a folded one. Because when you go in, like I voted using one of the machines in LA County in California, and I only voted in LA County in California. Now, I'm in Vegas right now because of quarantine. But my mailing address, my home, everything technically in California still. I voted on a machine that gave me my printout in an envelope, and you put it in, you don't have to fold it. You put it in long form. That goes in. Provisionals and absentees in those machines were all done where you put them in the same sleeve. You don't fold them and put them in a mail-in envelope because you're not mailing them. You're doing it in the clerk's office. They give you a different one. This is just dumb. He doesn't even say what state, like it's silly.
Republican poll watchers were denied critical access as hundreds of thousands of votes were...
This is a lie, too. They had 200 poll watchers, Democrat and Republican, and then 300 Republicans showed up and demanded entry, like you and I could just storm any kind of facility while votes are going on because, hey, I'm trustworthy. I'm just here to make sure things are on the up and up.
Counted in Democrat-run cities in the essential states. There is...
The essential states. Oh, congratulations to all of you that live in non-essential states. Fuck off, Idaho. Goodbye, California. I mean, what good are you? Potatoes and entertainment. Really?
Even security camera footage from Georgia.
Okay, someone in the... we got a troll that says, you're misleading your audience. They did sign sworn affidavits, which is comparable to what? Testifying under oath. No, it isn't. That's my point. Unless it's challenged in a court of law, it's worthless. If you swear to something, but do not or will not allow it to be presented in court as a sworn document, then I am to assume that it cannot stand up to cross-examination, and I'm not going to take it seriously. If the other party can't cross-examine you, then is it a sworn statement? How many criminals have sworn to details in either a confession where they say they did something that they didn't do, or signed a piece of paper saying they didn't do it, and have filed an affidavit and had a deposition where they swore under oath that they didn't do it, and then on cross-examination you find out, yeah, they did kill the fucker, and they should go to jail. It gives a rat's ass if they lied, if they thought they could get away with it. That's why people try to throw out confessions, throw out affidavits, throw out previous documents, because they know their client can't stand up on the stand and go through cross-examination any better than Melissa Caroni did. She did terribly. Who's not allowing the affidavits to be presented? No one. Rudy and his team aren't putting them in as evidence because they don't want them cross-examined, because it's bullshit.
It shows officials telling poll watchers to leave the room before pulling suitcases of ballots.
Oh, this is the video. Oh, look, they're actually rolling the video. So this is tabulating. Let's see if they show the voting machines, the ones that actually count the votes, covered in dust covers.
Out from
By the way, he'll say like a table that was covered with a black sheet, like a coffin. That's what Rudy always says. Notice all these tables. See all these tables? All the same. Even the table. Why were the Republican poll watchers hiding behind a table with a black drape over it? Why were they hiding behind this coffin draped table? What were they hiding? What were the Republicans hiding? Were they throwing votes for Trump in there? What is happening?
Under the tables and continuing to count for hours.
Nope. Those are tabulation documents. They get stacked from that thing. Here's the voting machine. This is the one that actually counts. The countings were done. See that? They were done counting. These guys tabulate. Those machines are separate from the other ones. I mean, look, the Georgia Secretary of State and the governor and everybody involved have already gone through this 100 friggin' times. They've interviewed everybody there. These folks knew they were on camera. They needed to finish this before they could go home. You have to stop counting before you can finish tabulating, because if you keep counting, you're going to keep tabulating. Do you understand? And they didn't work all night. So they stopped counting, and then you finish the tabulations that are linked to the final counting. You see how that works? I mean, we've been through this. We went through this whole stupid video.
Reason they were
But please use it.
forced to leave the room is they said there was a major water main break.
That's a lie. Okay, the major water main break, no one ever called it that, and it happened at 6 a.m. I mean, this is the President of the United States. Hold on. Georgia water break. I'm going to get a pregnancy video. Voting, whatever. That'll do it. Fact check. Claim of, let's see. There you go. Let's just go here. Now, remember one thing before we even start this. The video he was showing was at nighttime, about like 10 to 11:30 midnight, right? That was the window of those 2 hours, okay? We're good with that, right? We know that. He was just showing it. It's dark. It was the end of the day. You know that, right? Got it? We're clear on that. I don't want any wiggle room. The video we were watching happens at night, right? End of the day, end of the counting, right? Got it? Okay, cool. That we can all agree on. Trolls and all, right? Okay, here we go. Claim a large dump of Biden votes happened while election officials in Georgia were evacuated during a pipe break. Social media users are using surveillance footage of poll workers from Election Day in Georgia to reports of a pipe leak to push unproven claims of fraud. And the online posts claim that election workers pulled out suitcases full of ballots in President-elect Joe Biden's favor while observers were allegedly evacuated during a pipe break. Breaking. This is when the dump of Biden votes happened. This is the same shit Trump is saying right now, okay? He's still saying it. This fact check is from December 16th. Okay. Jesus was just born, by the way, 2 days ago. This asshole's still lying about it. 2 days after, Jesus is 2 days old. And in the name of Christ, Donald John Trump is lying. Reads a December 4th Facebook post by Hip Hop Patriot. I'm sure that's a real black person and not at all a Russian front. After they evacuated the building due to the red tsunami pipe break and stopped counting, video proof shows workers pulling out totes full of ballots, and the dump happened at the exact same time. Weird, huh? The dam has now cracked, and that's a Kraken reference, whatever. The viral graph highlights the alleged spike in red, which purportedly shows Biden at 225,196 votes and President Trump at 99,036 votes. Next to it reads a timestamp of November 4th. USA reached out to Hip Hop Patriot and the Facebook user for comment. Why? What? Who cares? So a pipe burst did take place at a ballot processing site at State Farm Arena. However, no ballots were damaged. According to election officials, the broken water pipe did cause a delay in Fulton County's ability to process thousands of absentee by mail ballots, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution reported. Fulton Commission Chairman Rob Pitts told the Journal-Constitution that the pipe burst occurred. What time did I tell you? What time did I tell you? What time have I always told you? What time? What time? Do we have to look up what time sunrise was on November 4th? Because I'm guessing it wasn't 12:05 a.m. Because when the pipe burst, by the video that Trump was just showing you, and understand this, I don't give a shit if you think Biden is legit, if you think there was chicanery, I don't care if you believe all the stuff that he's telling you, but you fundamentally show your ass when you try to convince people that the video he just showed you, this right here, which you can see in its entirety, both on my stream when I played it off of Rudy's, or on Rudy Giuliani's show, or on any of the situations where he went to the Georgia State Legislature and they played the whole goddamn thing. You can see that this is at night. They finished counting at 10 o'clock, sent everybody home, finished the tabulations for the night because can't leave them out, can't leave it undone, came back in the morning, started counting again. Delay happened because there was a water break, didn't affect any of the ballots because none were out. But the pipe burst that they're talking about happened at 6:07 a.m. and was repaired in 2 hours. 6:07 on that day. So, again, I don't care if you think Biden's legit. I don't care if you think you believe the corruption, the Hunter Biden and laptop and all that kind of stuff. But you cannot also say that the video that he's showing you, which you can go look at for yourself, find it wherever you want to look, because there's a giant window behind these tables, which also, I mean, if you're going to commit a crime, do it in front of a goddamn giant plate glass window that faces the parking lot where anybody who wants to has a better view of your desk than they would if they were an election observer. But carry out your crime, please. Continue to crime at that hour. But it all happened at midnight, 11:30 to 12. From 10 to midnight. The burst pipe was at 6:07 the next fucking morning. This speech, when was this? The fact check was on the 16th. This speech he's giving right now was recorded on the 22nd. I don't doubt it, Primrose. Yes, the video was retracted. The state has called it out. They pointed out that they know who's involved. There's a supervisor there in a purple shirt. If you're going to commit a crime, by the way, don't do it in front of a giant window in a yellow shirt. Using stuff that everybody there knows what it is. Mainly tabulation documents from all the groups of ballots that have been put through that can be checked later. This is, and again, I don't give a shit if you think Biden's legit. That doesn't matter. You can believe everything else. Just believe Michelle Caroni is an actual Dominion employee and that she's an actual whistleblower. And believe that they're IT expert. Don't believe that he's a car mechanic who flunked out of the 305th Battalion intelligence test, washed out of every intelligence course he took. Don't believe that. Believe he's a real IT expert because he's an auto mechanic. Fine. Believe that Michelle Caroni knows that she's a real Dominion employee, even though she was never contracted with Dominion. She was working as a temp, and she just finished serving a year on probation for computer fraud because she was mailing porn of herself and her boyfriend to his ex and a child. The son of the dude she was having sex with. Don't believe in her. Believe in the IT expert. Believe in their PSYOP guy who, if Alex Jones pointed him out and said the guy was working for the Democrats, you'd think he was a UN jack troop working on Agenda 21 or whatever. Don't believe it all. But you can't tell me that this video is happening at 6:07 the next morning. Shut up. You dumb son. Believe everything else. Believe that John Jay is going to land on the White House lawn and arrest Hillary and Pizzagate and all of this bullshit. Believe it all. But this part, fuck off. You can't do it. You look dumb. Everybody here, including you now, it's not about what I think of you. It's not what I think about you. It isn't. You don't give a shit what I think about you. You don't give a shit about what your neighbors think about you or the other people in the chat because you think you got your own version of the Kool-Aid and you think we drank our own version of the Kool-Aid and you argue that shit back and forth. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. You can believe that Chavez programmed these machines himself. Believe all of it. Bullshit. Dude says it was. It wasn't. It's 6:07. You're talking from Australia. What's the time difference in Australia? God damn it. Are people this stupid? Fulton Commission Chairman Rob Pitts told the Journal-Constitution that the pipe burst occurred at 6:07 a.m. and was repaired within 2 hours. Everybody was standing around. It wasn't just him and two friggin' plumbers. The original first reported part is you're literally 12 hours off. Gee, why would an Australian news service be 12 hours off? My goodness. And I don't care if anybody thinks that there was original reporting about somebody calling something in. When did they hire the plumber, pay the plumber, and the plumber went home? They hired him after it broke at 6:07 a.m. They came in and they fixed it within 2 hours. No one was stopped at 8 p.m. And by the way, even if you're saying, let's just play with that little fact. Let's do this. No, it's fun. I'm enjoying myself. Let's just play with the idea that it was 8 p.m. Then why does the video he's showing have them continuing to count and never leave that room until 10 p.m.? If the pipe was fixed within 2 hours and it happened at 8 p.m., let's just say that reality isn't a real thing. But let's say your little site, the original number, 8 p.m. Let's say 8 p.m. was the number, right? Let's go with that, right? In the video, they show no one stops counting or leaves until 10 p.m. when their shift is done. And the finished tabulation happens exactly on schedule. Explain yourself. Try harder. Because again, you don't care what I think of you. You know I think you're stupid. That doesn't mean you're irredeemable or awful or evil even. You're just being an asshole because you don't like that you lost. And you're miserable because other people are happy, and you think we're happy about your misery and not about solving a problem that we saw. Because I don't give a shit about, I don't live off other people's misery. I see Trump as a material problem that needs solving. Kind of like COVID. I get no pleasure when somebody who didn't think COVID was real gets sick and dies. I gain nothing from that. I just want the disease solved. I know you don't think that way. I know you view me as an American as your enemy. I get it. I know you can't shake that. But what you have to shake is the idea that a water main broke at 6 o'clock in the morning and magically ran people out of a room at 10 o'clock the night before. because that's what this video and this asshole have in contradiction. So, anyways, we continue.
Happened.
That was actually really fun and really easy. By the way, that was actually. I hope everyone enjoyed that as much as I did. That was good.
Water main break. In many.
Wait. Sorry.
The water main break never happened. There was.
Yes. You're right. There was no water main break. No one went home. You made it all up. It didn't affect the actual ballot counting in any major way. It was the next morning.
There was no water main break. In many cases, Republican poll watchers were physically removed from rooms.
From rooms that they didn't have a right to be in, and there were already enough Republican poll watchers.
In addition, there is the deeply troubling matter of
your face.
Dominion voting systems.
Okay, tell us about ES&S machines. I mean, if you're going to tell us how bad Dominion are, clearly you have to counterbalance it, right? You got to have a match point. If only Dominion machines, which have a paper trail, were as awesome as ES&S machines, which don't all have a paper trail, and were exclusively used in districts that went exclusively for Trump, whereas Dominion machines were used in a number of counties that didn't go for Trump.
In just one Michigan county alone, 6,000 votes were
one county?
Switched from Trump to Biden.
Wait. In just one... Wait. The what? Guys, have you heard about this? One Michigan county... let's see. 17... let's see. How do I put this in there? I got to look this one up. So 6,000 votes. Let's see. Hold on. I've got to see if I can find the link to this. This is good. I mean, I like it's a lot harder because obviously. Let's see, is AP. Nope. Trump tweets tall tale of deleted votes. President Trump falsely claimed on Twitter that an election technology firm deleted large numbers of his votes or switched them to count for Biden. The latest in a series of baseless theories suggesting voting counting problems the president has been promoting. His tweet Thursday amplified a, quote, report built on empty claims that originated in anonymous comments on a pro-Trump blog. I mean, that's as good as being under oath, wouldn't you say? Yeah, Smartmatic only was used in one area of LA County, and they and Dominion are both suing everyone.
And the same system was used throughout a majority of the United States.
Dominion isn't the majority system. ES&S is the majority system in the country.
No satisfactory explanation has been offered.
That's not fair. Clearly, many times I've had satisfactory explanations. Just because you can't get no satisfaction. How is that what?
Why Dominion systems are able to switch votes.
They aren't.
With a mere push of a button.
It's true. He's right on this one. If you're voting on a Dominion machine, or even indeed an ES&S machine, or any voting machine, if you're voting for someone and you push that you want to vote for them, and it's wrong or you push the wrong place, you can push and vote for somebody else if you change your mind. And until you confirm your vote, you can switch them all you want. They go back and forth like crazy. You go, look at that. Trump, Biden, 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 Biden. Confirm. It's going to be a Biden vote. Just one, though, unfortunately. So, you know.
In Arizona, the state Senate has recently issued a subpoena for a
Oh, boy. Yes, they want to look at the machines that they paid for.
forensic audit of the voting machines, and similar investigations must be conducted in every state using Dominion systems.
But not ES&S machines. Just because the votes in a state were completely off from all the polling consistently, even the median, that is no reason, and they don't match up with the registrations. That is no reason to look at Ohio, Florida, Texas, and Kentucky. There is no reason to leave
Immediately. In Texas, they don't allow Dominion systems to be
And that's funny because you were close to losing, and then you gained a lot of votes because they used ES&S machines. Why was it so far off?
used. As I have just laid out, we have unveiled overwhelming evidence of
Not a stitch, an inch, a speck, a puff, a piece, a crumb of evidence.
election fraud. None of this should ever have been allowed to happen in the United States of America.
I agree. You should have never been allowed to be able to run for president in the United States of America. But we pride ourselves that anybody can be president. We just didn't know that meant, Jesus, anybody can be president.
It is a travesty of democracy.
Yes, you think that's bad? Look at the Republican primary this year.
It's a shame upon our republic. In 2016, we caught them by surprise.
No. You got through because of lazy, laid-back voters, and you were an unknown entity, and people didn't know what they were dealing with, and this time a bunch of Republicans voted against you, and independents told you to go pound sand.
From that moment, they had 4 years to work on the scheme to rig the 2020 election.
And you, let me get this straight, as President of the United States, who at one point had control of the House and the Senate, could not do anything to secure the federal elections from said fraud. You couldn't have brought, Homeland Security or anybody before the election to guarantee the integrity of machines and make sure that chicanery didn't go on. Even though states choose the machines and all that kind of stuff, they have to live up to a standard, so you could have a review of those standards before the election, but you didn't actually want to do that because you thought it'd be enough just to get the mail-in ballots thrown out. You'd be able to win just on that number alone, but you just couldn't do it. There was a blue tsunami, and you got swamped.
The rigging of the 2020 election was only the final step in the Democrats' and the media's years-long effort to overthrow the will of the American people and destroy our movement by any means possible.
Well, no, if by any means necessary. There wasn't open warfare in the streets. There wasn't any means necessary. There was any legal means necessary to deal with your crimes as you committed them. Nope, he was impeached for something he did in office, unrelated to the Mueller probe. I would like to repeat that. What he was impeached for was wholly unrelated to and happened after the Mueller probe ended. Nobody, and God knows, if Nancy Pelosi has a time machine or the power of prescience where she can see the future, then maybe she should run everything. Dude, this asshole wouldn't have gotten impeached if he had just tried to run against Biden on the merits. But he can't not screw up because he's Donald Trump.
Any means necessary. For months and indeed years before the election.
You apparently were too busy golfing and screwing around to even see that local state volunteers could bring down your presidency because you're the greatest president ever who puts America first and knows how to make everything. And you know ISIS better than the generals and money better than the financial geniuses, and you have the best words and the best people, and you're the greatest. But some local volunteers in 5 cities could bring down your whole presidency? That's what you're trying to... Why should you be in charge? If you can't win overtly or covertly against local volunteers in a couple of cities, how am I supposed... No wonder you bend over for the Russians.
The media, the big tech giants, and the Democrat Party were openly colluding to deceive the American public. Earlier this year, it was proven beyond any doubt.
Dun, dun, dun. What was proven? What was earlier this year? It was proven beyond any doubt that... what was proven earlier this year? Oh, that he knew that COVID was airborne, 5 times deadlier than the flu, and that people who are older had comorbidities and stuff would die at a much higher clip. But he pretended there were only 15 cases and it would soon go to 0. Is that what that was proven? That's not what he's going to say, is it?
That Joe Biden's family received millions of dollars from the Chinese Communist Party.
Excuse me 1 second.
I've been to China many times.
Really?
I have, so
What was the impression?
I love China.
Really?
I love China. I spent quite a bit of time over there last year. Really,
For what?
really loved it. Looking at different projects, it's a market that I think we'll be in very soon. We
Do you
have
have any plans for China?
we have a lot of plans for China. So we've got an amazing buyer base that's from China originally, that has apartments in our buildings, that use our hotels, that are members of our golf clubs. There's a very, very loyal following base to the Trump name, and so it's just a very logical place for us to be soon.
That was, let's see, what was the... I have to see. Was there another video that kind of talks to the same kind of thing? Let's see. Let's see. I think I can find it. Let me see. I gotta hold down 1 second and go over here. Let's see, Oh, that's about, hold on. This is about Vetselnitskaya. Hold on, this is not the right thing we put on here. Let's see. Let's see. I think I can find it. I'll have to probably go to the tweet machine to try and dig it up. Let's see. Sorry, guys. Sometimes it just calls for us to find it the old-fashioned way. You know what I mean? Let's Twitter. It's what's happening. Okay. There we go.
In 2014, the sports writer James Dodson played a round of golf with Eric and...
Yeah, that's the other one. That's where Eric was saying that they get tons of money from Russia. Let's see. Yeah, it's the same one. There you go. Yeah, this is our friend David Packman had this guy in this little piece in there. Well, we don't rely on American banks. We have all the funding we need out of Russia. They've really invested in our programs. We just go there all the time. No, I have, and then Trump says, no, I have nothing to do with Russia. We don't have any deals there. I have nothing to do, no Russian deals, whatever. And then go, no dealings with Russia, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, Eric's just, there we go, hold on. It would be let's see. That's his 2007 deposition where he said it was a Trump International Hotel and Tower in Moscow. It would be a non-exclusive deal, so it would have not precluded me from other deals in Moscow, which is very important to me. And in terms of high-end product influx into the U.S., Russians make up pretty disproportionate cross-section of a lot of our asset. Say in Dubai, and certainly with our project in Soho and anywhere in New York, we see a lot of money pouring in from Russia. There's indeed a lot of money coming for the new builds and resale, reflecting a trend in the Russian economy. And of course, the weak dollar versus the ruble, Donald Trump Jr., 2008. So, but I mean, not important.
Yet the media and tech companies work together to completely censor this information.
I'm watching it right now. This is on YouTube. I'm on 4 sites playing what you're saying. I am not cutting it out of context, so you're saying everything you want to say.
Our country no longer has a free press.
You're the president of the United States. Why are you telling the government to censor people?
It is a press of suppression. It is a press
a press of suppression. It's a suppression.
Where the truth will never come out.
And truth will never come out. Well, you're in charge of the government. The government is what protects free speech. You're the one lying.
It is the greatest and most shocking scandal involving a presidential candidate in modern history.
Yes, it's a scandal that you were ever president.
But surveys show that half of those
survey says
who voted for Joe Biden have never even heard of the story. This
Wait, what?
Presidential candidate in modern history. But surveys show that half of those who voted for Joe Biden have never even heard of the story. This is not the first and only time.
Wait, surveys by? Online surveys?
That the media and the Biden campaign flagrantly lied to the American people.
You just flagrantly lied. Flagrantly lied. You did. You showed video that was happening at night of people finishing work for the day. And then you lied and said that the flood that happened the next morning, that was minor and didn't end up affecting the vote, happened before that. And your asshole followers tried then to make the case that it actually happened even earlier in the video that you're not showing because it wouldn't have affected anything we saw in the video. It would have actually thrown off the timeline of what you're saying if it happened even when they said it happened, which it didn't. You just, let's float for the idea that you believe everything that he says in terms of the odds and the statistics and the counties and the states and how could it be possible, and I want Ohio, and no one loses Ohio and wins the presidency. It doesn't happen, right? Believe all that shit, but remember and never lose sight of the fact that this asshole just showed you a video from 10:30 at night and told you that a pipe that broke at 6 o'clock the next morning made them shut off, and according to his fans who were with us tonight trolling around, made them stop voting at 8, even though the video shows counting stopping at 10 when it was supposed to stop, tabulation continuing until they were done tabulating, which doesn't affect the count, just shows where they are. It's like a bookmark. Doesn't affect the overall count. And the votes that were counted on the machines and the tabulations matched the votes that were uploaded 2 hours later, because it took a while to put in the tabulation documents. Yeah. But he just told you, this man, who's very upset. He's very upset. You have to understand. He's very upset that the media and the big tech are censoring him. They won't let you believe the truth. The truth is dying. We have no free speech. Because he can't be allowed to lie to you and tell you that 10 o'clock at night is 6:30 in the morning.
They repeatedly insisted that we would not produce a vaccine for the China virus before the middle of next year. And
no, widely available so that people could get it. That's exactly the timeline. It's exactly the timeline.
yet before the end of this year, we have already authorized 2 vaccines with tens of millions of doses in distribution.
That were flown in from Belgium.
And hundreds of millions more on their way. This is being talked of as a great medical miracle. In this sense alone, the media and the Democrats...
No, it isn't. It's not a medical miracle. You know what the medical miracle is? Dead serious. You know what the medical miracle is in this situation? Seriously. The medical miracle in this situation is that COVID hit in 2020. Because nobody thought it was a medical miracle that the Spanish flu hit in 1917 and then took 2 to 3 years to wash through the public and kill a bunch of people before dying out. It wasn't a medical miracle that went away. Everybody wore masks. Figured it out. But they didn't have electron microscopes. You couldn't upload the genome of a disease.
The Democrat Party lied to the American people to try to steal the election.
You lost. And the 2 companies that arrived at a vaccine the fastest did not participate in the meetings with Operation Warp Speed.
Also, polls. In order to deter voter turnout, the media...
This is the other thing, too. They scared... I really won Wisconsin, and it was all cheating, but they released polls that said I was losing so bad in Wisconsin that they just made people stay home. So even in...
media had me down in
if I
certain polls by 15, 16, and 17%.
There wasn't 15, 16, and 17%. There was one poll that said 17% in Wisconsin. Everybody thought it was ridiculous.
In states that I won or came very close to winning.
No, you lost Wisconsin.
If this egregious fraud is not
4 times.
Not fully investigated and addressed, the 2020 election will forever be regarded
as the great joyful turning where we all as Americans found our way again and left behind the one-term impeached loser presidency of Donald John Trump, who oversaw the greatest debt accumulated by any one-term president and even indeed any 2-term president due to what he ended up having to spend on COVID. And he inherited dry cupboards that he left, or bare cupboards that he left bare, and that more people died in the last year of his presidency than had ever died in a single year in American history. And we're not even January 31st.
As illegitimate and the most corrupt election in the history of our country. Americans must be...
Well, you wish.
...be able to have complete faith and confidence in our elections.
I do.
The fate of our democracy depends upon it. Now is the time for the American people to raise their voices.
Okay. Boo. Boo. You're smelly and you look funny. Boo. That's me raising my voice. It's late. People are trying to sleep.
And demand that this injustice be immediately corrected. Our elections must...
I agree. This injustice must not stand, dude. Man, we need to look at the machines in Florida, Ohio, Texas, and Kentucky. I'm not going to feel good about this until then.
Must be fair, they must be honest, and they must be transparent.
They were.
And they must be 100% free of fraud.
Well, wait a minute. Then throw the two people who had their dead relatives vote for you in jail. So, wait a minute. So, if two people put votes in for their dead parents, that saying they really would have wanted to vote for Trump, so I'm voting on their behalf even though they're dead, which happened. And if those people do it, even if they're caught and go to jail, which they were and they will, according to Donald Trump, just the sheer existence of those people should make us doubt our elections. Because unless our elections are 100% free of fraud, whether you catch them or not, it's not important. They were caught, but there was fraud before they were caught. So what are you going to do? Why hasn't he talked about Nashville? Because he didn't give a shit.
We won this election by...
in Tennessee, in Kentucky by cheating?
By a magnificent landslide. And the people of the United States know it. All over, they're demonstrating. They're angry.
No, they're not. They're small groups of assholes complaining. If large groups protesting mattered to you, the Women's March after you won would have made you step down. I'm sorry, but including Charlottesville, all of your gatherings of patriots and your rallies and all that kind of stuff, if you stack them all together in the entirety of your presidency, the Proud Boys gathering, the rallies that you put together all over the place, if you put all those people together, still don't match the volume of just the Women's March. Don't get me started on inauguration size.
They're fearful. We cannot allow a completely fraudulent election to...
We didn't. It would be a fraud if we allowed you to do this.
Stand. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
They dip out of his shit so fast. And God bless America. God damn it. It's bullshit. I won. Every friggin' time. Is there Hal jail? There will be. By the end of this, what's my take on the COVID bill? Well, he just signed it under the, you guys know that, right? Trump, basically because Ivanka told him to. This was my favorite part of it. His statement about it. Where's his statement? Because let's see. Where's the actual? I want to see the. Okay. Here it is. Okay. Statement from, this is a couple of people have it posted. Statement from President Donald Trump. As president, I have told Congress that I want far less wasteful spending and more money going to the American people in the form of $2,000 checks per adult and $600 per child. Let's see. The president is sending a strong message that makes clear to Congress that wasteful items need to be, and that's just his little statement or whatever. But this is the statement from the White House. The president is signing a strong message that makes clear to Congress that wasteful items need to be removed, sending back to Congress a redlined version, item by item, accompanied by the formal rescission request to Congress, insisting that those funds be removed from the bill. The president is signing this bill to restore unemployment benefits, stop evictions, provide rental insurance, add money for PPP, return our airline workers back to work, and add substantially more money to the vaccine and much more. On Monday, the House will vote to increase pay. Okay. He signed it. Who gives a shit what his redline version of it is? I mean, again, this man has been president for 4 years, and he doesn't know that he does not have the power of line item veto? You don't think if this guy thought he had line item veto, he wouldn't have used it? What are you talking about? Why is Trump allowed to have 2 Twitter accounts with only one archive? Because one is his personal and the other is the presidential one. Although they are archiving his personal one, whether he is aware or not, because he makes statements as president. It's campaign versus that, versus the president. Let's see. Yeah. President Donald Trump signed and I love how this, a massive $2.3 trillion coronavirus relief and government funding bill. It's not he signed the government funding bill and the coronavirus relief that was attached to it. That's $900 billion. It's the entire funding of the government. It's our budget. We have a $22 trillion economy. What kind of petty, tiny version of your government, which in the greatest country in the world, with the greatest military that's ever existed, and the greatest stock market, and the greatest financial system, and the greatest infrastructure, and the greatest airports, and the greatest businesses, wouldn't have a budget that would protect it, fund it, secure it, and support it? Come on. Both here and abroad. That's why we pay our bills, that's why we have foreign aid. That's why we go into debt on some of these things, because ultimately it raises the size of the economy over time. Yeah. Trump's signature of the $900 billion relief package extends unemployment benefits for millions of jobs. Okay. Yeah. He just signed a piece of paper. He had nothing to do with it. He fought it. He waited on it. He stomped around, and it didn't matter. It's just impotent flailing. He didn't write it. He didn't create it. He didn't work on it. He didn't do anything. The Maricopa County Election Board not submitting to the subpoenas and search warrants for voting machines. I'm not aware of their issue with it, but I'll gladly look into it. Also because of Congress awaiting, let's see, hold on. Let's see. Maricopa. Whoops, wrong. Sorry. Wrong. This one, sorry. Maricopa County Board elections subpoena voting machines. There you go. All right. Judge, let's see. All right. Fox 10 Phoenix. Oh, the Fox channel, right. Judge will not force Maricopa County to obey subpoena to access 2020 election. It's okay. Judge in Phoenix rejected an effort by legislative Republicans. Oh, I see. So it wasn't the state legislature, but it was legislative Republicans who issued the subpoena to force the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors to comply with a sweeping subpoena demanding access to voting machines, copies of all mail ballots, and other materials from the election that saw him win Arizona's 11th. Superior Court Judge Randall Warner said lawmakers did not follow the appropriate procedure to enforce a legislative subpoena, meaning that they had to actually present it amongst themselves. Okay, but he invited them to refile their case. Okay, so when they refile their case, they can present it. However, the ruling is a setback in the effort by State Judiciary Committee Chairman Eddie Farnsworth and Senate President Karen Fann to get access to the materials in time to audit them and send a report to Congress before Electoral College rounds are counted on January 6th. The dispute is another chapter in efforts by President Trump and his supporters to cast doubt on the legitimacy of the election. This is Fox 10 in Phoenix themselves. This is actually in Arizona. The dispute over the chapter is another chapter, like in Arizona and several other states lost. The GOP lawmakers say that they want the county to turn over voting machines and records so the legislature can audit Maricopa County's handling of the election. No evidence of widespread voter election fraud has emerged in Arizona, which has seen 8 lawsuits challenging the results of the state's presidential vote fail. Claims of sweeping voting irregularities made by Trump backers in Arizona and several other battleground states have been mainly rejected. The Board of Supervisors, which is controlled by Republicans, voted 4-1 last week. The Board of Supervisors, who are controlled by Republicans, voted 4-1 last week to fight the subpoena and filed a lawsuit asking for a judge to decide whether they must comply, saying lawmakers are illegally seeking access to private voting information. So basically, the Republicans in the Senate there are on a hunt for the information of voters, the private voter information, so that they know where to limit voting machines in the elections next time based on how people voted. Lawmakers, by the way, let's see. I wonder who do you think? Let's see, Randall Warner. It's Arizona. That doesn't sound very Hispanic. Wonder who put him in office. The Board of Supervisors, which is controlled by Republicans, go past it. The lawmakers then filed their own emergency lawsuit on Monday, asking Warner to force the county to comply, hoping to speed up the process. They are allowed to investigate and seek and see what the facts are and make a decision just like a grand jury, said Corey Langhofer, a lawyer for Fan and Farnsworth. Stephen Tully, a former Republican lawmaker representing the Board of Supervisors, said the lawmakers aren't entitled to the court order they seek, known as a writ of mandamus, nor are they entitled to send an unknown auditor to tinker with voting machines. What they're trying to do is unconstitutional. It's illegal, Tully said. And the judge agreed. Now, I know, I'm very glad, random troll, that subpoenas matter so much to you. That if anybody issues a subpoena, the person who gets it, from a state Senate, much less the actual Senate or the House of Representatives, has to comply. Right? Right? Is that where we're going? That's how we're doing it. It's very important. It's a subpoena. You have to comply. Even if a judge says it doesn't, you don't have standing, you don't have the right to ask for it, you're going too far, you're asking for people's private information, you're doing something that's illegal and unconstitutional, doesn't matter. If they issue the subpoena, you must comply. If that's the way you believe, then why is the president allowed to stop people without using privilege? Stop people from testifying. Why were they allowed to stop people from testifying who were subpoenaed for Congress? Why are they able to blow off congressional subpoenas then? Why? If you're okay with it, obviously the federal government has a lot more responsibility and therefore a lot more power in this regard than a state Senate, and especially half the state Senate, especially when the majority of the county Board of Supervisors for the actual that represent the voters in Maricopa County, which is controlled by Republicans, voted 4-1 to tell them to screw off so that they wouldn't steal all their voting information. So why did Bill Barr and people like him get to ignore subpoenas? Why are you okay? The warranty's void if the machine's opened, right? That's my favorite part of this whole thing is the essence of the issue with Rudy Giuliani's stuff. Which is where's that little line? So good. Nor this is awesome. That's basically the root of Rudy Giuliani's bullshit. Nor are they entitled to send an unknown auditor to tinker with voting machines. Now, if you have a problem as a Republican with the Republican Party, then I suggest you move to Maricopa County, vote for a different group of Board of Supervisors, and change the balance of power there. You won't, because when you go there, you'll recognize more than likely that those people represent your actual values or your belief system, and they do it fairly well. Except for the fact that Donald Trump lost, and you have a hard time with that. I mean, that wasn't difficult. Now, let's see. Do we have legislative force? Let's go by Superior Court Judge Randall Warner. I'm just curious about him. We don't necessarily know. Let's see, real quick. Okay, he's let's see. His is assignment history. He's in the civil court there. Judge Randall Warner, current assignment, Civil Department, Phoenix. There, 2018, 2015, 2012, 2010. He was in criminal. He's been family court so family court 2 times, criminal court, then civil presiding judge, juvenile court in 2018. Then he's been at civil there. He's getting rotated. 2007 to present, he's the judge in Superior Court in Maricopa County in Phoenix. He was a partner at Jones, Skelton, and Hachuli in Phoenix. 2001 to 2007. He was in private practice. He was a judicial clerk in 92 to 93. Arizona Supreme Court Justice Thomas A. Zlatic. So he's got a history. He basically came full circle in this. Went to University of Arizona. He's a hometown boy. And he got his doctorate at the University of Arizona College of Law. And now he's the presiding judge. But, it's probably big tech. You know what I mean? Probably a big tech. Probably big on Twitter. Probably part Mexican. Can't really trust him, right? But I think that's the best part of this whole thing. The lawmakers are not entitled to the court order they seek, known as a writ of mandamus, nor are they entitled to send an unknown auditor to tinker with voting machines. Let's see what this I like. A writ of let's all have law school right now, just real quick before I sign off. Yeah, there you go. A writ. Ew. Pardon me, Legal Information Institute. Here we go. A writ of mandamus is an order from the court to an inferior government official, ordering the government official to properly fulfill their official duties or correct an abuse of discretion. According to the U.S. Attorney's Office, mandamus is an extraordinary remedy which should only be used in exceptional circumstance of peculiar emergency or public importance. Mandamus at the federal level. That's not what this was. This was state mandamus. This was state vandamus. You want a writ of vandamus. I'm just trying to be the best I can be. Hata, hata, hata. Right. All right. In the writ of vandamus at the federal court level, in the federal courts, these orders most frequently appear when a party to a suit appeals to a judge's decision but is blocked by rules against interlocutory appeals. Beg your pardon. Interlocutory appeals. Instead of appealing directly, the party simply sues the judge, seeking a mandamus compelling the judge to correct his earlier mistake. I'm suing the judge because I don't like what the judge said. Generally, this type of indirect appeal is only available if the party has no alternative means of seeking review. The All Writs Act gave the Supreme Court and all courts established by Act of Congress the authority to issue writs of mandamus in aid of their respective jurisdictions agreeable to the usage of the principles of law. Ordinary mandate. The ordinary mandate is used in court to compel agencies to perform ministerial acts. All right. The administrative is an ordinary mandate used to review the validity of a final administrative order or decision made as a result of a lawfully required hearing. In Florida, people run around smoking meth with their pants off. In New York, hey, fuck you. Further reading. For more on writs of mandamus, see Duke Law Review article. Duke Law. Shoot 'em once, they'll get away. Shoot 'em twice and shoot 'em hard. I don't know. All right. The University of Miami Law Review article, where the rhythm is going to get you. And bring 'em young and leave 'em that way. University Law Review article. That's where Brigham Young. That's where Michael Jackson got his law degree. Am I mistaken? All right. So there you go. Now you know what a writ of mandamus is. It's ridiculous. A writ of mandamus is an order from a court to an inferior government official, ordering the government official to properly fulfill their official duties or correct an abuse of discretion. The assumption being that there's an abuse of discretion, which if you have to prove, or the judge is going to go, shut up and go away. And that's what he did. So that was actually pretty easy. And I wish, thanks very much. I wish you'd give me a harder one next time. But but thanks to that ridiculous flailing, why can't the Republicans, legislators acting on their own, enact a subpoena and send it to the Board of Supervisors, forcing them to hand over machines to a person we'll name later that the campaign will pick to tinker with voting machines in a dark room with no one present until they come up with a version where Trump won? Why can't we do that? Because you have no right to do that. You haven't actually followed the law. That's why. So the judge told them to go pound sand. They don't have standing to do it. They have no right to do that. They're trying to... Now, and here's the thing. You almost had me. I'll give you that. The sweeping subpoena demanding access to voting machines. This was what you ran on. This is what the original troll was about, right? That was the original troll. Right? The original troll was, why won't they? There's a subpoena to seize the voting machines. Why won't they let them have it? Why are you afraid to mention? Here's your problem. Sweeping subpoena. Here's your other problem. Demanding access to voting machines. To do what? Under what standing? What in the voting machines, what evidence do you have or information do you have that what the voting machines showed and what the Secretary of State showed and what the Maricopa County Board showed were out of sync with each other? Because they aren't. And if they aren't out of sync, what reason do you have for being able to get access to voting machines, which are proprietary to the county, paid for by the state itself, and are a matter of security? You don't just let anybody you want hook a USB drive up to or hook a cable. However, like these machines in particular, we don't even know which ones they're addressing. Just voting machines. Do you mean the counters, the tabulators? Do you know the difference? Are you stating in your subpoena the difference? Are you stating in your subpoena in a way that the judge knows you know the difference? Or do you just want to grab the machines, period, and mess around with them? They're not your property. You have no right to seize property from the state. Because think about every other circumstance where in or around any other state function, a private party could sue using only one party's legislators to seize materials owned by the state, be left alone with them for a period of time, just cut brake lines on cop cars, for example, because they want to defund the cops. So the defund the cops super liberals in Arizona decide they want to subpoena all the cop cars in Maricopa County, and the cops will get them back when they say they can, whenever, right? You see the problem there? We have to show a reason why you want access to those things, and you have to show a reason why you have a right to that access, or why you have standing to receive those things, or the security clearance to actually deal with those things, and in what form you're going to do it. You don't want to seize the machine. Like, again, demanding access to the voting machines. In what way? Because in this telling, it's a sweeping subpoena. They want all of it. Copies of all mail ballots. Copies of all mail ballots. I have audio going. I can see it. Can you guys not hear me? Yeah, I think AJ stopped listening. But it's okay. I wouldn't listen if I was him either, or her either, or whoever, or both. And other materials from the election that saw President-elect Joe Biden's win Arizona's 11 electoral votes. Copies of all mail ballots. Let me guess. They didn't want to pay for them? Let me guess. Yeah, ballots are private. This is why. This is why. They don't want, and they don't want all the ballots. They don't want all the in-person ballots. They want the mail-in ballots. They're asking for mail-in ballots, but not actually, and again, other materials from the election. I don't know what that is. Home addresses of the volunteers? What? So anyways, they got thrown out because there's no case, and it's silly. Because they write their cases on Post-it notes, and more than anything, let's say you believe they have standing reason and there's a functionality to what they're asking for. Let me make something abundantly clear. The party that you align yourself with is a flood with useless idiots posing as lawyers who can't legislate their way or write legal theory their way out of a paper bag. They're idiots. They're idiots. You support idiots who hire idiots. Because if you believe this is true, and it should be self-evident, and it should be very easy, apparently the people that you believe in, the Republican legislators, the judges that they have in their counties, the state board of electors, the county board of supervisors, which are all majority Republican, all of those folks are Republicans, and apparently they're showing you that they are incapable of dealing with a fraud you see as self-evident and obviously, clearly, violently a failure. Dual party system is the exact problem in your country. No, it isn't. Grow up. The fallback about it's the problem because both parties are basically like two legs in the same pair of pants. Whatever. Wrong. Democrats believe in democracy. One person, one vote. Republicans believe in the concept of the Electoral College and the Republic, meaning that land has more value than individual voters, that a state with fewer people in it than one county in Los Angeles, or one city in Los Angeles, Santa Monica, should have 2 senators, whereas the entire state of California has 2 senators. Idaho should have as many senators representing it in entirety as, like, by that measure, the Senate, there should be, 8 senators in California. That's the Republican Party. And they show it every goddamn time. And you can believe all the stories about socialism, and you can flail a lot about war and neocons and all that nonsense. But when it boils down to it, these are the differences between the parties, and this is how they show themselves. And if you're like, really, is there any difference? If that's your fallback, that's proof that I just handed you your ass and you lost. You were backing this whole hog. This is your case. This is your belief system. This is your dude and your Republicans. We're a constitutional republic for the executive branch, not a democracy. Bullshit. We have enshrined over 200 years the right of the individual to vote. We're a democracy. We don't vote for electors. The electors represent the vote that we have put towards president. They don't act as the voters themselves. They're not rotten borough electors like in King George's time. And that, like, half-assed federalist reading of the law garbage fails in court every time because it's anti-constitutional. And if you believe it, if you really do believe that, if you do believe that that's what we are and what we should be, then explain why we fought the Revolutionary War in the first place. Because what you're describing is a theocratic monarchy with land rights, which ain't freedom, by the way, which means you don't own your land. You don't have private property. The governor of your state owns your land in reality. That the deed you have for your property is not an indication that you own that land that is kept in secure form by the governor of your state for the national records, but indeed proof to the president that the governor owns that piece of land and you only operate it for a short period of time. You don't actually have the right to that land. Because that, if what you want to be true about us being a constitutional republic and not a democracy, is still holds true, then that does as well. It's goofy. It's stupid. Of course it's not that. But I can see why you would clamor at the ass of Donald Trump and want him to be your leader because you crave the sort of the weak-kneed monarchy to run your life for you, while the rest of us deal with the complications of democracy and recognize that disagreements and complexity are actually a part of life and are part of what make it fun. Okay, so I'm going to let you guys go. This has been a late one. This is good, though. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for jumping in. And I will see you guys tomorrow at the regular time. And by the way, Jack in House says, I'm a 30-year-plus Republican. I don't believe in those things. In fact, I've argued against the Electoral College because it's directly against the verbiage the states are governed of the people, by the people, for the people. I'm from the old school Republican Party, not the modern neocon bullshit. I understand that. But the root of the Republican Party is based on the concept of a constitutional republic, not a democracy. And that it is rooted on a party that rules the Senate and cedes the House to the rabble. That's the functional structure. It is and in the continuing push where they're losing over time control of the Senate in their belief system anyways, and the fear that they might lose that balance of power, the control of the SCOTUS has become the primary push of the Republican Party over the last 26 years, give or take, because of that point of control. So there you go. Anyways, you guys are awesome. I enjoyed the conversation. It's good. And by the way, just because you're a Republican, that doesn't mean I think you're a bad person. And I don't mind arguing the balance of republic versus democracy in terms of how we instigate rule from a federal, state, and county level, for example. We could talk about the Dillon Rule all night, right? But the point I'm trying to make is that we argue on these points as Americans. We are opponents, not enemies. And at some point, because it's you have to start recognizing that when it comes to Donald Trump, you've been had. That I don't care if you believe yourself to be a true believer Republican. That has nothing to do with the existence of this flim-flam artist asshole, Donald John Trump. It doesn't. He's not a Republican. He's got, like the QAnon people, the entire crowd that the Republican Party has effectively lined themselves with. Like, come on. At some point, you have to recognize that you're saying that the savior of the world, the guy who's fighting off the big pedophile ring, is a guy who had 3 pedophiles on speed dial and chose one of them to be his attorney in the impeachment trial. Do you know how many lawyers are in this country? Do you know how many right-wing lawyers who would love to fight on behalf of the president of the United States, regardless of whether it was Trump or anybody? Do you know how many of those people exist? Lots of them, especially as individuals. But he didn't. He called Alan Dershowitz. Alan Dershowitz. He had Epstein, and he wishes Ghislaine Maxwell well. He had both of them on speed dial. They would hang out. He bragged about it. What are you doing? Clean up your shit. Love you guys. Have a great night. Take care of yourselves and take care of somebody else. I'll see you tomorrow, 3, our regular time. It's a good time. Thank you, Sonia. Eventually. It'll be a little later than that. I'm not running for office until I'm in my 60s, and that's, I got 9 more years. I appreciate you guys. So, all right. Take care of yourselves and take care of somebody else. Reach out to somebody this week. Pick somebody from the outside realm of your acquaintances this week. Let me think of one right now. Who am I going to do? It's got to be somebody I wouldn't necessarily bump into that I've got a number for. Somebody you've got a phone number for. Okay, I got it. All right. I'll see if I can get them on. It'll be somebody I haven't seen in a long time in person. I'm going to reach out to them and see if I can get them. Maybe I'll see if they can come on the stream and just say hi. My birthday is September 25th, same as Christopher Reeve and Barbara Walters and Will Smith. Apparently there's something in the water. Does he give Maxwell a pardon? No, I don't think so. So, yeah, love you guys. I will see you tomorrow. Have a great night. But pick somebody like that. I'm curious. You don't have to say their name. Yeah, the dossier is going to have its own show because it was a request. So that's going to take some prep because I've got to set up some links so you see what I'm talking about. Because I know what's in it. So I have to go prepare my links and show you ahead of time. It'll be fun. That'll be like a special. Yeah? Know what I mean? All right. See you guys tomorrow. Have a great night. And thank you guys for all the support. Thank you for the super chats for our new patron. We're trying to reach 500 patrons. Help us out. That'd be lovely. Just go to patreon.com/AlSparks. You can also hit the Venmo. That's really helpful. We got a couple of those earlier today, and people were like, how do I know it gets to you? It gets to me. If you use that little thing, if you take a picture of it with your phone, it'll get to you. It'll get to me. Or paypal.me/AlSparks. Thank you guys for the support. It's great. If you can, please do. If you can't, hang out with us. We'll keep you sane. We got a few more months of this. We're going to get through it. We're going to get through it. Stay safe. This is going to, the next few weeks especially, the contagion is going to be very high. Just view it as weather. Don't go out, you don't go out for a stroll in a hurricane. It's that simple. Plan around that kind of stuff. I adore you guys. Please be safe, and I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, bye.